I think you were first this time. Besides me, I'm always first. Are border collies the best? I don't know. I know a lot of cat people. Narc is funny. He's got somebody threatening to come to his house and kill him. Like, legit threatening him. Like, saying where he streams from and how you could do it and how you could get away with it. I don't know if you saw it over in Discord a few weeks ago, maybe? A couple weeks ago. It's this other truck driver guy that he trolls. So it's funny. We should put border collies on the border. Now, does that make sense? Does that make sense? Listen to this comment. Trump's showing the world that he's not going to take crap off of anyone. This is how a prez, P-R-E-Z, is supposed to act. 100% flex, lion, sunglasses, hard eyes, fire.
All right, I'm going to tell a story.
It's wild that the quote unquote patriots are now like, well, he's not that bad. What has Putin ever done to you? Fuck. Hello, Jennifer C. I don't think... Have you been here before? Under a different name? Sure. Yeah, that's the point of NATO, right? That's the entire point of NATO. Hold on just a second. Let me close down some programs in the background. I'll roll the intro. Give me just a second. Let me do something here. Sorry, I know I'm kind of leaving you all hanging, but give me just a second. I'm trying to save a file and close this damn program before I crash my computer trying to run Fusion 360 over here. All right, now we can roll the intro. Let's go.
Hey Daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick.
There's always
heard that it's
bots
very thick,
when I
like
cover
a
Russia.
good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that.
Oh, genie in a bottle. Yeah, I know you.
Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Ooh, welcome, everybody. I'm Will Bird, and this is the Cold Beer Confessional. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, as I said, Will Bird. If you want to support the show, if you like the show, you like the way it's going, you want to support it, you can do it at this website in front of me, I guess. I was going to say behind me, but this website in front of me, coldbeer.fund, coldbeer.fund. 3 people this week have asked me what the link is because they don't want their names to pop up. It's just this yellow button. It's just a PayPal donate link. It's this yellow button that just says donate. It says no alert link, then it says donate. If you click that yellow button, you can send I'll still know you donated. It'll still send me an email. But if you don't want your name on the screen or you don't want it to make like an alert or whatever, that's the button. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I ran across an interesting video that I think I'm going to start with. Sort of about the MAGA mentality. And I like the guy's premise. I don't know how true it is. It seems to be true from all the stuff that I've dealt with. He starts off with this basis that when you're in that MAGA QAnon cult, everything is tied to a conspiracy theory. Everything. Like even when Trump does something completely off the fucking wall, that's because it's conspiracy. Or when they do this, it's because it's conspiracy. And when you do that, it's because it's conspiracy, right? Seems pretty wild. So let's check this out. This is a recovering MAGA tard. I don't know what to call it. A maggot. Here you go. It says MAGA-splaining the tense meeting between Trump, Vance, and Zelensky.
And I'm here to explain to you what happened today at the White House between Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and President Volodymyr Zelensky. Now, first, before I say anything, you need to understand that everything that MAGA does, everything that MAGA believes, everything that MAGA is, can be traced to some kind of conspiracy theory. Personally, I put MAGA into 2 camps. You're either ignorant or evil. You're ignorant or evil. Okay, when I was a part of MAGA,
I believe that too. You're either ignorant or evil, right? You've either been brainwashed and you think what you're doing is right, or you're at this level that you know you're lying. Like Phil knows he's lying about being a spy, being a secret agent, being in charge of these people, meeting Trump, all these things. That's evil, right? He knows he's lying, but he knows that people believe it.
I was definitely on the ignorant side. I don't necessarily think I was evil because my mind was changed. But with that being said, this is what happened. It all starts with a deep state conspiracy. Viktor Yanukovych was a pro-Russian president of Ukraine, and he served from 2010 to 2014. In 2013, Yanukovych was offered a sweetheart trade deal by the European Union. He was going to sign it, but then he abruptly backed out of the deal. Instead of taking
I wonder why.
that deal, Yanukovych was offered a much less sweetheart deal from Putin, which was a $15 billion bailout. His refusal to sign the bill led to the 2014 Euromaidan protests. This effectively led to a revolution, and in February 2014, Yanukovych fled Russia. His ouster was later used as Russian justification to annex the Crimea region in 2014. Yanukovych's political advisor was a guy named Paul Manafort.
Paul Manafort. So the guy that had to be run out of Ukraine. Ukraine was on the precipice of becoming like more Eurocentric, right? More, ties more to Europe and trade deals and stuff with Europe versus the Russian way, right? Obviously, Russia doesn't want that. It'll affect their economy. It'll affect a lot of their things. They don't want it. So this deal was like amazing, right? It's a really good deal for Ukraine. Congress wanted it. The people wanted it. The president at the time pretended like he wanted it. Then he backed out at the end and ended up signing a much shittier deal with Russia. These started all the protests. Protests kicked off. There were protests. Protesters were killed and shot. Congress said he needs to fucking step down. They basically took him out of office. He refused. Then he fled. And that's why kicked off most of these protests and this revolution. And then Crimea is taken.
You may have heard of Paul Manafort, but in case you have, Paul Manafort was the chairman of the 2016 Donald Trump campaign. Paul Manafort has deep ties to Russia. In 2016...
But Paul Manafort was that guy's campaign advisor. Paul Manafort, of all people, the same one that was with Trump that had all the ties to Russia. He was that guy's campaign advisor.
Led to a revolution, and in February 2014, Yanukovych fled Russia. His ouster was later used as Russian justification to annex the Crimea region in 2014. Yanukovych's political advisor was a guy named Paul Manafort. You may have heard of Paul Manafort, but in case you have, Paul Manafort was the chairman of the 2016 Donald Trump campaign. Paul Manafort has deep ties to Russia. In 2016, the Ukrainian Anti-Corruption Bureau discovered something called the Black Ledger. The Black Ledger effectively found $12.6 million in off-the-record payments from Yanukovych's party to Paul Manafort.
Oh, no.
Eventually forced Paul Manafort to resign from Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. This is among one connection of many connections that Donald Trump has to Russia. However, MAGA believes that the Black Ledger was a deep state plan to try to derail Donald Trump's 2016 campaign. Now, before
a deep state plan trying to derail the campaign. Got it.
So 2016, before Manafort resigned from the campaign, Russia had already started up its disinformation. The Internet Research Agency is basically an arm of the Russian military that staged a social media campaign that many people bought. And by many people, I include myself in this. And with that being said, fast forward to 2019 with the election of Volodymyr Zelensky. Zelensky was a comedian and actor specifically elected because he was pro-Western. While on a telephone call with Zelensky in 2019, Donald Trump had asked Zelensky if he could dig up dirt on Donald Trump's opponent, Joe Biden. Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman was on the call, and this call led to Donald Trump being impeached in 2019. Ever since then, Donald Trump has hated Volodymyr Zelensky. In 2022, after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Russian disinformation started ramping up into full gear. The Internet Research Agency of Russia has started to spread horrible.
And we've seen this. You know, the guy that speaks on behalf of Putin to the media said they were geoengineering soldiers in special labs that the United States government paid for, basically making like Captain Americas. And that's why they were struggling to take over the country. Like crazy conspiracies. And if you read, I need to go back and reread it. It's been a long time. If you read the book, it's by Rebecca Koffler, I think is her name. Putin's Playbook. Like, Putin knows how to twist social media to get the outcome that he wants. They're very good at it.
Horrible rumors about Volodymyr Zelensky and the fact that he is laundering American money into his own pockets. And of course, once MAGA gets a hold of this information, it spreads like wildfire. If you watch any of my other videos, you will see it. So that is how we got here today. With that being said, I'm utterly embarrassed by what happened today between J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, and Volodymyr Zelensky. You have to understand that the United States put Ukraine in this situation. The United States convinced Ukraine to give up its nuclear weapons that were left after the end of the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union left...
The vast majority of those nuclear weapons were in Ukraine.
Nuclear weapons in Ukraine after the Soviet Union, and we convinced them to give it up. And now with this embarrassing show of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, it just seems like we're going to abandon them, okay? So we left them defenseless, and now we're just going to abandon them. Why? All because of some stupid conspiracy theory, and all because of Donald Trump's ego. When are the Republicans going to wake up and realize that this man is fucking up this country, and he needs to be stopped at all costs? To any Ukrainians watching, I am so sorry that this is your current predicament. I did not vote for this man.
That's right. Across the board. Did you see that congressman address to this question?
3 million other Americans did not vote for this man, and you do not.
Hold on. I'll grab the link.
Listen,
So, across the board, the cyber counterintelligence people through the DOD across the board have been instructed to stop any investigations or actions they're taking, anything that involves Russia. They were just told to stop everything. So that being said, the news reporter caught word of this and it was like, was talking, I don't even know who he's talking to, somebody in Congress who would have inside knowledge about Russia and their interference and what they do, and asked them like, what do you think about this? He's like, no way. No, knowing what we know that Russia does, there is no way that we ended all these programs. And they're like, nope, we did. Oh, it's Mark Kelly. There's no way, but we did. Let me share the link back to myself and I'll show it in a second. But we did. But we did. We'll just stop looking into them. Right, they're probably not doing anything. They're probably keeping it above board, obviously. It's just Russia, right? It's this one.
I want to ask you something because of the position you have on armed services. CBS has confirmed these.
So he's on the Armed Services Committee, right? So he would know what's going on with Russia, and he would know what's happening, right? You're on the Armed Services Committee. I want to run this question by you.
On armed services, CBS has confirmed these reports that Defense Secretary Hegseth has ordered U.S. Cyber Command to temporarily halt cyber operations and planning against Russia. The Washington Post reports that that's as long as the negotiations continue. There are no negotiations underway. Does this concern you? Have you been briefed on this?
I don't. No, I'm not unaware of that. I don't believe that would be. There are too many. I'm certain considerations there for that to.
Like, it blew his fucking mind. Like, there's no way that this is happening. There's too many things that Russia is doing. There's no way that this happened, right? But it did.
An accurate statement.
You've been briefed on this?
I don't. No, I'm not unaware of that. I don't believe that would be. There are too many. I'm certain considerations there for that to be an accurate statement. So blanket.
But they have ordered Cyber Command to halt cyber operations.
Considering what I know considering what I know what Russia is currently doing against the United States, that would, I'm certain, not be an accurate statement of the current status of the United States operations.
You are confident that the United States.
I'm confident, considering what Russia is currently doing against the United States, the status against Russia would not be that. Considering what we are facing from Russia operations, yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
Mike Turner. It said Mark Kelly on the thing, but that's not Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly's bald, right? That is Mike Turner, Ohio's 10th congressional district. Okay. Why did I guess they had a different guest on before.
I want to ask you something because
there you go. Oh, it's just coming up. Okay.
Position you have on armed services. CBS has confirmed these reports that Defense Secretary Hegseth has ordered U.S. Cyber Command to temporarily.
He's a Republican from Ohio, and he's like, nope. There's no way we're doing that. Not with what Russia's got going on. Not with what they're doing. Not with the operations we have going on. There's no way. But we did.
Halt cyber operations and planning against Russia. The Washington Post.
You can tell by the way he stammers that he's like, if this is true, it's huge.
Of course, that's as long as the negotiations continue. There are no negotiations underway. Does this concern you? Have you been briefed on this?
I don't. No, I'm not unaware of that. I don't believe that would be. There are too many. I'm certain considerations there for that to be an accurate statement. So blanket.
But they have ordered Cyber Command to halt cyber operations.
Considering what I know considering what I know what Russia is currently doing against the United States.
If Pete Hegseth can be trusted, then who can? I don't know. This is what happens when you just put woefully unqualified people into positions just because they passed the loyalty test.
States that would, I'm certain, not be an accurate statement of the current status of the United States operations.
You are confident that the United States.
I'm confident, considering what Russia is currently doing against the United States, the status against Russia would not be that. Considering what we are facing from Russia operations, yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
There you go. He couldn't even believe it. All right, here's a palate cleanser. You guys, remember I told you that, have you guys seen the trend online first? Have you guys seen the trend online of Republican makeup? There's like these mean girls or whatever. That's what they're pretending to be. They do like the Republican makeup trend. And a lot of it stems from Trump's press secretary and the makeup she wears. And they're making jokes about it or whatever. Well, there's one girl that did it and she's become pretty famous from it. And then there's people that are also very upset about it, right? They're very upset about it. It usually starts with J.D. Vance's eyeliner. And then it goes on to some not very flattering makeup. And there's people that are doing like liberal makeup and they're crying and they got blue hair and shit or whatever. One of the people that's become very famous on it.
Oh, Susie.
Is this Susan Lambert. Let's go to her page right quick. Susan Lambert is obviously left, not right. And she makes a bunch of funny videos calling people out. She also talks about topical issues like the budget proposal here.
I've been meeting with members of Congress all day. I just got back, and if there was one message I could get out there, it's you do not have to support Democrats in order to look at this Republican budget proposal and go, yeah, I call bullshit. You don't.
No one's asking you to become a leftist, transgender, illegal immigrant to say, hey, it's probably bad to cut $880 billion from the group that keeps Medicaid alive. Like, that's probably a bad idea.
No one is
while giving gigantic tax cuts.
You to become a Democrat or a liberal overnight. You can think that Democrats are the biggest bunch of loser ass pussy bitches. And guess what? I think a lot of them are too, okay? You're not alone in that. You can think that about Democrats and still be able to look at this budget proposal and go, yeah, I don't think cutting lunches for kids is a good idea.
Too many people are treating it like a team thing. Like, hey, this budget proposal is crazy. Have you seen this? And they'll just deny everything and support everything just because it's like a Republican thing, right? Some of the family members of Mariah's that I interact with online are like that. Like, you can be Republican, you can support Trump, you can do whatever. This budget's still fucking insane, dude. It's fucking insane. Anyways, she makes content. And this other female, whose name is Avery Warwick, makes content. Now, the Susan girl, the first girl I just showed you, made some shit like, she was like, somebody's like, I can't wait till I see you at Walmart and you could talk about this right-wing makeup to me in person. So Susan makes this video. It's kind of funny, right? It's kind of very mean girlish. She's like, oh, I don't shop at Walmart. I'm too, like, bourgeois or whatever, right? You'll never see me at Walmart. I'm too, I'm too rich or famous or whatever. It was kind of a funny video, right? Taking a piss out of this person and making a joke out of it. Anyways, this other girl, Avery Warwick gets very upset about this. Very upset.
I literally said.
So she breaks down her whole life and doxes her. Here it is.
Said we needed Mean Girls to come out of retirement. I called myself the liberal Regina George.
Oh, Susie, careful what you wish for. Considering your entire platform is about critiquing women's appearance, imagine my surprise when I found this recent photo of you.
So she finds her in a bunch of photos, but she goes on to dox her and her husband.
Very, very.
So this is where she works. She goes on to dox her husband's occupation and is like, oh, it'd be a shame if a bunch of people called your husband's job. This is where you live. This is the apartment you live in. This Avery Warwick. And she's very right-wing. We'll go check out her page. She's sucking on Trump's nuts. Elon says Elon is not successful and doesn't know how to run a business. Imagine if other countries taxed their citizens and gave the money to America. Link to join the Ukrainian military. This is what people have been posting all day. Like, if you support funding Ukraine to fight back against their invasion, here, just sign up for the military. Here's how you sign up. You could be part of Ukraine's military. Like, how fucking stupid is that? Obviously, those are two different things. The USA should withdraw from NATO. She's like very far right. Doesn't usually know what she's talking about, but she got it all from Twitter posts, right? So this person doxed Suzanne and her husband and basically condoned people calling his job to get him fired because of what she puts online, making jokes at people and being a leftist. So, enter Shane Morris. Shane Morris, as you guys know, he's the guy with the grill that's always talking about databases and SQL and Elon Musk and stuff. I'm a big fan of Shane Morris. Okay. Enter Shane Morris. And Miss Avery Warwick is trying very hard to become famous. Okay? Very hard to become famous. Shane does a little Google search and figures out that AveryWarwick.com. Avery, Avery, WARWICK, AveryWarwick.com is available. What do you know? That domain name is available. And Shane decides to snatch it up. And here's where we go from there.
Susie, careful what you wish for.
You know what's crazy, Avery? When you and I were having that discussion like 2 days ago, I didn't realize I was talking to a celebrity. And I don't think Suzanne even knew you were as famous as you are. I mean, I just saw that segment on Fox News, but I didn't even know you were the Avery Warwick from AveryWarwick.com. Of course, I don't have to deal with, women's.
That says ham wallet stank remover.
Cleanliness issues, so maybe I'm not the person who should be buying your products, but I love how on your website for ham wallet stank remover, you say, I put my face on every bottle of stank remover because I know what it's like to deal with this stanky pee.
So he put a direct quote on this that says, I put my face on every bottle of stank remover because I know what it's like to deal with a stanky pussy.
Also, you have this intense rash cream, which is Ann Coulter scented. I didn't even know Ann Coulter could be a scent. Is it like a Death Eater from Harry Potter? What does that smell like? Of course, you're also known for regret.
The condoms, not for interracial use, are just named regret.
Family planning, prophylactics, not for interracial use, which personally, I probably wouldn't want to be known for that brand, but more power to you. And then, of course, there's the Avery Warwick brand of Fupa wipes. I didn't even know Fupa wipes.
Now he's not like fucking around. Like, this website is up and active, okay? This website is going strong. AveryWarwick.com with ham wallet stank remover, Fupa wipes, regret condoms for racists, keep your hateful heritage in check. Nothing says I'm stuck in the past like refusing to evolve your thinking. Lucky for you, regret condoms make sure you don't pass that mindset onto any unsuspecting offspring. It's the ultimate courtesy to the rest of humanity. Fortified latex to contain your hot air. Let's face it, you're full of it. Misinformation, stereotypes, and that weird superiority complex. Our extra thick latex is designed to keep all that nonsense firmly under wraps. Think of it as a barrier between you and your partner's future and your questionable opinions. Comfortably confining, just like your worldview, these condoms might feel a little bit restrictive, but hey, that's the point. If you're going to hold on to your small-minded ideas, you might as well keep the rest of us safe from them. Customized fit for narrow perspectives. We realize not everyone is comfortable with inclusivity. So we've made these condoms exceptionally snug. After all, a narrow worldview deserves suitably narrow prophylactic. And then we got Avery Warwick Fupa wipes. They're listed as a bestseller. 100 wipes for $30. So you've got a Fupa, a fat upper pussy area. Big whoop. What angry white woman doesn't? Meet your new best friend, Fupa wipes. Think of them like those fancy cloth napkins at five-star restaurants, except for the real MVP downstairs. Because the redneck chud you're dating won't let you in his F-250 if you smell like garlic and gym sweat. If you're going to show your body some love, do it with something that keeps you fresh, friction-free, and far from funky. Remember, a clean fupa is a happy fupa. God, I love Shane.
Wipes were a thing, but congratulations, Avery Warwick, on being known for Fupa wipes. I mean, what a revolutionary person you are. And one more thing, Avery, I believe so much and so strongly in your mission that I went ahead and started a Google Ads campaign for AveryWarwick.com, because anytime somebody Googles the name Avery Warwick, I want them to find your Fupa wipes. Coulter scented cream.
I knew there was a reason I liked this guy. I knew there's a reason. So she comes back. She comes back in the comments and says, there's the original video. Sorry, I'm trying to find the response. She deleted the comment, but there was a response here somewhere. Highly underrated. That's not it. It should have a comment on the screen. Country needs to be ran like a business. Sorry, I'm trying to find it. Oh, here it is. So here's our comment.
Avery, what's...
Hey, so this is illegal. Hope this helps. Probably won't. But at least you've been warned. It's free speech and parody accounts are now illegal? She deleted this comment later.
Avery, what's up? Good to see you again. Couple things. No, this isn't illegal. Me buying your domain and making a website is called protected free speech, and here's why. At the bottom of your website, averywarwick.com, which I hilariously enough own, you will find a legal disclaimer that talks about a prominent case called Hustler Magazine versus...
It says this website is a parody of a public figure. Avery Warwick is a prominent TikTok personality and has been featured on Fox News. Parodies involving public figures, even those meant to provoke emotional distress, are protected under U.S. law. Hustler Magazine Incorporated v. Falwell, 485 U.S. 46, 1988.
Versus Falwell, where Jerry Falwell sued Hustler Magazine because he found the parody of himself to be extremely distasteful. You, Avery Warwick, are a public personality. This is clearly demonstrated by your large following and your intent to cultivate a large social media audience along with your appearance on Fox News. You want to be a public personality, you have done so successfully, and because of this, I can now parody you even if it means I'm trying to intentionally inflict emotional distress, which is exactly the point. I would be emotionally distressed if every time somebody Googled my name, they found Fupa wipes. And I can understand why you wouldn't want your family and friends and people you know to associate with you. Ham wallet stank remover. But girl, it's hilarious. So what I did here is not illegal. You have no claim. And if you were to sue me, get on the phone with your rich daddy and be like, Daddy, Shane Morris is mean to me on the internet. Can you hire a lawyer and sue him? I'd call my lawyer Barnaby and I'd be like, Barnaby, make this problem go away. Boom. And it would be a slap suit. And not only would you lose, you'd end up paying me. But this is the tragic irony behind modern conservatives, the hyper-right and the MAGA supporters like yourself. You only want free speech for you and not for me because now you're trying to censor me. This is what America is all about. Free speech, protected free speech. I'm allowed to make fun of celebrities. Guess what? You can do the same thing to me. I'm a public figure, but guess what? I own my domain name. You don't. Unforced error. What does that sound? It's like a Ford F-250 with a bunch of eagles. And then Jesus is in the driver's seat and he gives you a big thumbs up and says, Go America! No, it's not illegal. It's hilarious. But I would invite you to try this. Please, please, please file a lawsuit. I would love to make this content.
Stay between a rock and a smelly fupa place. It's pretty funny. Not the ham wallet. Yes, the ham wallet. Yes, that it's pretty good. It's a pretty good gag, and Shane's pretty smart. He knows what he's talking about, especially when he's talking about these programs. He has also read Putin's playbook. He did a live stream on it the other day. I was in there, asked him a couple questions about Tim Pool, and you guys know what the MICE acronym is for, right? For intelligence and counterintelligence. It is money. So these are the ways that you can turn people. And it might take you years to turn people to an asset. But the ways that you can turn people is money, ideology, compromise, and ego. Trump falls heavily on the money and ego. I don't think he has any real like crazy ideology. Like he really wants to make the country like a fucking Christian nationalist. He's not even a fucking Christian, right? It's mostly ego. It seems to be that world leaders, when they're talking behind closed doors, know that if you stroke his ego the right way, you can basically get him to agree to anything, right? With enough compliments. This is why it's so crazy that fucking JD Vance is like, have you thanked us yet? Have you even said thank you today in this meeting? It was, have you ever said thank you? Yes. Have you said thank you today? Yes. In this meeting? Like, what the fuck, dude? So it's money, ideology, compromise, and ego. Tim Pool and Benny Johnson and those guys. I'll show you a clip. What I need to search to get there. Tim Pool may not have known that all the money come from Russia, but he damn sure didn't do his due diligence. No one's paying you a fucking $1 million an episode for videos that get like 2,000 and 3,000 or 10,000 views, right? Like the money was an insane amount. Everybody thinks that content creators get paid a shit ton. They don't. Most of them don't. But they have enough of that built up. Like if this video is getting 1,000 views a day, and this one's getting 10,000, that one's getting 20,000, and this brand new one just gets 100,000. Like that's how it adds up. But Tim Pool was making these videos for hardly any fucking audience on Tenet Media's channel, and was being paid in orders of magnitude what his main channel makes, with 100x the viewership. Like they should have known something was fishy. The most digging they did was like, hey, who is this guy? And they got sent like a LinkedIn or a resume and like a headshot saying, oh, it's this guy. He just loves America. Like they should have done more due diligence. If someone come up to you and said, hey, I just need you to drive this car, right? Even if it was somebody you knew casually. They're like, I just need you to drive this car across town. And you're like, okay, that's kind of weird. What's going on? That would probably throw off fucking alarm bells, right? If they come up to you and said, hey, I'll give you $100,000 to drive this car 3 miles and park it in this specific parking spot. Like you might claim that you didn't know that it had drugs in it or a body or fucking somebody kidnapped, but you probably should have been asking more questions, right? You probably should have been asking a lot more questions. You want to pay me $100? Why don't you drive the car? Even if you're a professional car driver, right? You probably should be asking more questions. Usually you get paid $5,000 to drive a car. They want to pay you $100,000 to drive a car less and not record it and be quiet about it. And like, that's crazy. Anyways, this episode's, or this portion of this episode was illegal. Or illegal. Was deleted. I was reading this down here. Was deleted. It doesn't seem to be up anymore, but someone got a clip of it. So Milo, I don't know if Milo knew that Tim Pool, he had to know Tim Pool was part of this, but he doesn't actually call out Tim Pool. He calls out like Benny Johnson or one of the other ones, but for doing the exact same thing as Tim Pool. So check this out.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's him again. There he is, with his face hidden under the beanie and his second face piloting his meat corpse. This is a clip brought to you by our friends over at the Surfs, friend of the show. Go see the Surfs and stuff. Say to Lance, nice cob, buddy. He'll know what you mean. He probably fucking will. He'd probably be like, why are you saying this? He'll figure it out after a second, though. This is Tim arguing with Milo Yiannopoulos of being not gay anymore fame. They're going to argue in big...
I swear, this makes me want... If I could control having a brain aneurysm, I would have done it. When I was complaining about Tim Pool being a fence sitter and never committing to anything, and he literally had an argument with himself about whether Mount Rushmore was big or not. I wish I had the clip still. I used to have this clip saved. He's like, Mount Rushmore, it's huge. It's huge. It's giant rock wall, president's face. It's huge. Well, maybe it's not that big. I guess it depends on who you ask. What is big? Like, it was the craziest thing I'd ever heard in my life.
Let's go. Oh, whoa, would you look at that? He's got a mullet now. That makes him straight.
Credit. No, I'm saying in general, big picture.
Thank you, Joel.
You can
exactly where the money's coming from. Dave Rubin knew where the money was coming from when it was coming from Russia. He used it to buy his children.
That is 100% false, and you know that ropes me into it, and I can.
You know that ropes me into it. Yeah, motherfucker. Of course you're roped into it. But I don't know why you would even be worried. Tulsi Gabbard is about to be fucking confirmed, and she's.
So I guess he was talking about Dave Rubin, right? Dave Rubin knew where the money was coming from. He knew something was up with it, right? Let's say I work all day. Let's say my monthly views, I don't even know what I get monthly views. I guess I can go look on YouTube. My monthly views on YouTube for a 28-day period are like 6,000 views. Okay, that's actually down, but let's say there's 6,000 views. And I make, I don't know, $100 per month. Then someone comes to me and says, well, I want to pay you $5,000 per month to just make one video a week on this new channel we're starting. Like, obviously, I'm going to be like, why? Are you sure? Where's the money coming from? And it's even what I don't think Tim Pool understands. He claims they didn't ask him to make any content changes, which doesn't seem to be true. They were casting things out saying, will somebody cover this in like group messages? But even if they don't want you to make content changes, that's worse once you find out the money's coming from Russia. So what that tells us is that you were already covering the topics perfectly. They didn't even have any fucking notes for you. You were already covering the topics perfectly, the exact way that Russia wanted you to cover them. It would have looked better if they would have had notes and said, hey, is there any way you could cover this or cover more of that? Or maybe don't say this. At least it looked like you weren't parroting the talking points without even being told to.
He's an actual Russian asset. Like, it's not a secret. She like genuinely gets paid by Russia to do.
With Tim Pool, obviously, it was money, right? Someone came to him. It didn't have to do with views. Didn't have to be famous. Didn't have to do. It was a content deal, and it was money.
Propaganda, and she's gonna be like have the highest clearance, or one of them. Maybe it gets higher. I don't know. It's ridiculous. This whole thing is corrupt. We live in a kleptocracy, an oligarchy, and soon to be like they're
back to the clip.
This isn't different from Cyberpunk.
But it's funneling.
It's not really that different.
Verify it's 100% false.
All right.
Completely untrue.
It is so,
and this is important big picture stuff because USAID is funneling money into NGOs.
It's irresponsible in the extreme to the point of ludicrous negligence to not know where hundreds of thousands of dollars are coming from.
Is it because Milo?
It's ludicrous to the extreme to think that. It's even worse. I know I just used myself as an example, but it would be even worse if, let's say, I was getting 1 million views a day. And for those 1 million views a day, I was paid $10,000 a day. And then someone comes and says, well, we want you to make YouTube a video a week on our channel. It'll only get like 300 views a day, but we're going to pay you triple what you normally make. But I know that I get 1 million views a day, and that pays me X amount. Why would 300 views a day pay me triple what I normally make?
Is sort of like burning all the bridges already, and it just like he's got to find somewhere to slither to. That now he's seeing like the writing on the wall here, because he doesn't do anything from an altruistic perspective. He is 100% grift at all times. This is from when, I mean, like all the Timcast people got exposed for taking Russian money. Lauren Southern and them, Dave Rubin, and everyone know, like they clearly knew.
An ask, and that's not the story at all. So if you knew what you're talking about, maybe it sounds smarter.
All right. Well,
but clearly
he's so mad.
If you knew what you're talking about, maybe you'd sound smarter. They ended up deleting this.
Look at how he like blinks and like.
Story at all. So if you know what you're talking.
As far as I know, I've tried to find the original full clip.
Maybe it sounds smarter.
All right.
I can't find it.
But clearly, as the story has already been reported, and you haven't read any of it, which involves me, which I find particularly insulting, is that certainly Dave, I, as well as Benny, did ridiculous due diligence in digging and trying to figure out what the source of the revenue was beyond.
Their ridiculous due diligence was like, hey, who's funding this? Oh, this guy. Here's his picture. Okay, sounds good. Check cashed. What time is it in Moscow?
Your typical ad deal. So when I get an ad sale person who comes to me and says, this company
I didn't remember that you were involved in
this company wants
I didn't remember that you were involved with that. So that's what it was. He was trying to shit on Dave Rubin and Tim
I think he probably did. Milo is like a big troll figure, right?
He's like, whoa, that's my crime. Hold on. I see. It's funny. You think he knew it was trolling, Milo? God, I hope so.
Wants to sell, they want to buy $100,000 in ad reads over this amount of time. No one anywhere in media says, tell me who their investors are, get me on the phone with him. And when this stuff went down, Dave, Benny, I, and many others said,
but if it's $100,000 in ad reads, you would know the product. You'd probably know who made it. You would know their claims. I would at least want to use the product, right? I know not everybody does that. They'll read any product that I try to use the product at least.
We want to know what this is all about. Who is this involved with? And when you get a prominent conservative personality,
especially if you, let's say you took the very first paycheck and thought, oh, they're bringing us all together and they're making this huge channel, right? You took the very first paycheck, but then the views didn't come. And they're like, okay, well, it's next month. It's time to pay you again. And you're like, are you guys getting a return on investment? Because the views aren't coming. Like, I don't make this much at my main job, and I get way more views.
Based on a national with an American company and says, here's the investors. They're going to talk to you, explain it. Here's the proof. We go, okay, well, like a prominent conservative personality is running a company out of national. Orange.
They're describing the Russian propaganda that's destabilized America. Like, this is really what's happening.
And it's so wild. Like, okay, let's say there is this big disconnect. Nobody on the Republican side is in any way, shape, or form communicating with anybody on the Russian side. Why do all of their talking points line up so perfectly? Clearly, we know that Russia is lying about Ukraine, and completely separately from that, all the Republicans just believe it and repeat it. No influence, no money, no pressure. They just lined up organically. It's crazy.
Happened. It's not really a joke. Besides, like, obviously the already there right wing sort of like southern thing, but like all these people are Nazis anyway. Like, it's all the same.
But I do think you could launder a shit ton of money through ad reads, fake ad reads, and products and influencer campaigns. Meme coins could be a huge way. And thank God, while we're talking about meme coins, the SEC says meme coins are not subject to securities regulations. Oh, really? Trump's meme coin was valued at more than $74 before falling to about $12. Cryptocurrency tokens known as meme coins, such as the one promoted by President Donald Trump last month, are not subject to federal securities regulations, the SEC said Thursday. They gave a green light on this, dude. A green light. You're going to see all kinds of people getting scammed by meme coins now. Meme coins associated with Donald Trump, Melania Trump, soared shortly before Trump's inauguration, likely netting companies affiliated with the coins, not to mention the snipers that knew about it beforehand, millions of fees before plummeting in recent weeks. According to the SEC, the coins are more akin to collectibles and don't fall under this category of securities under federal law, likely shielding companies like the one behind the Trump coin from potential litigation. Meme coins typically are purchased for entertainment, social interaction, and cultural purposes, and their value is driven primarily by the market demand and speculation. In this regard, meme coins are more akin to collectibles, SEC said in a statement from its division of corporate finance. Meme coins are a highly volatile slice of the crypto industry that may start as a joke, but can become quite profitable for the individual promoter. So they just basically, these are the only people that could really prosecute this. They just basically given the green light to all these creators to do it. Might as well. It is the Vision's view that the transactions in these types of meme coins described in this statement do not involve the offer and sale of securities under the federal securities law. As such, persons who participate in the offer and sale of meme coins do not need to register their transactions with the Commission under the Securities Act of 1933 and fall within one of the Security Act's exemptions from registration. Accordingly, neither meme coin purchases nor holders are protected by federal securities law. Neither meme coin purchasers or holders are protected by federal laws. The SEC statement comes after Trump launched his own meme coin just before the inauguration, and a lot of people were pressuring him like, hey, the soon-to-be, at the time, now president of the United States, did this. This announcement from the SEC comes as House Democrats are planning to introduce legislation that would prohibit elected officials and their families from profiting from personal meme coins. It's kind of a joke at this point. Like, something should have been done. Money should have been returned. He made millions just in fees. Just in transaction fees.
Sort of thing. That's why they get along. And man, holy shit. And so Russia pays us the second wave of information, after the mainstream.
You asked what Tim Pool said. Someone gave you a quote of what Tim Pool said, and then you screamed, "I never said anything close to that."
I mean, kind of like the first big money people, the Tim Cass, Lawrence, these other people. So you did your due diligence, saw it was Russian money, and still took it. Which thing are you lying about, right? So he it doesn't make any sense, man. We did our due diligence and couldn't find out.
That's exactly what he's fucking laying out there. Like, oh, we got a front row seat to watch fucking Europe fall. Awesome.
Lauren Chen. So it just have to be, we have to push it all on Lauren Chen. And you didn't ask Lauren at all about where this money was coming from.
He literally screams, hold on. One of our allies, Ukraine, is the enemy of this country.
Ukraine is the enemy of this country. Ukraine is our enemy, being funded by...
Obviously, somebody's added the donation sounds at the bottom, but this is a real clip.
Ukraine is the enemy of this country. Ukraine is our enemy, being funded by the Democrats. I will stress this again. One of the greatest enemies of our nation right now is Ukraine. They are expanding this war. Now, don't get me wrong, I know. You've got criminal elements of the U.S. government pushing them and guiding them and telling them what to do. Ukraine is now accused, a German warrant issued for blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline. Trigger.
Look at all the donations coming in. That's the guy from Rocky.
Ukraine is the greatest threat to this nation and to the world.
Ukraine is the greatest threat to this nation and to the world.
We should rescind all funding and financing, pull out all military support, and we should apologize to Russia.
I think some of the documents that we didn't get released, I've heard. Let's just say I've heard. Some of the documents we didn't get released in the Tim Pool thing because they only prosecuted the Russians and exposed it or whatever. And it seemed like the people in Tenet Media took like a deal and claimed they were fooled, even though they were Googling like, what time is it in Moscow before they would text their handler, right? They knew. I think some of the documents we didn't get released and some of the text messages were the creators texting each other. Like Tim Pool knows he knows Benny Johnson and these people texting each other saying, you think this is legit? I don't know. This seems kind of weird. It seems like they expressed doubt to each other and those things haven't been released, but it is what it is. Apologize to Russia. We should apologize to Russia. What we got next? This right here is kind of an interesting video. A lot of timelines add up, like when did Trump first start saying good things about Putin? When did Trump first start saying bad things about NATO? When did Trump first start, just watch this video. It's pretty interesting. It's from a channel called Political X on YouTube. Let's do copy link address. Political X, I'll drop the link for it. Political X 6151 on YouTube. Go check them out. This video is pretty interesting. I couldn't find a better video that put all this together the way that I wanted this, right? Instead of finding like 5 or 6 different clips, they put it all together. So thank you, Political X.
Once upon a time, in the shadow of the Cold War, a young American businessman walked into Moscow eager to make a deal. He was bold, brash, and desperate to expand his empire beyond the glittering skyline of New York. What he didn't know, or perhaps didn't care to question, was that he had stepped into the web of one of the most powerful intelligence agencies in the world, the KGB. For decades, Soviet and later Russian intelligence agency...
Now, we know that a Russian KGB, basically manager, right, came out and said, we recruited Trump back in the 90s. Here's his code name, Krasnov.
Have cultivated assets, not just spies, but influential figures, businessmen, politicians, media moguls.
Which starts to make sense with, praising Putin. Trump, right after a couple meetings in Russia and stuff, came back and Russian oligarchs buying some floors in his hotels and shit when he was in financial trouble, was taking out full-page ads denouncing NATO and that we should leave it back then.
People who could be nudged, flattered, and entangled in relationships that pay off years, or even decades later. And according to a former KGB chief, this is exactly what happened in 1987. Alnur Musayev, a former head of Kazakhstan's National Security Committee and an ex-KGB officer, posted this on February 20th, 2025, and stated that Donald Trump's codename was Krasnov.
In 1987, I worked in the 6th Department of the KGB of the USSR in Moscow, the most important area of work of the 6th Department.
Now, this guy's verified. It's not just like some guy claiming to be KGB. Like, he was KGB. Now he works for a security board or whatever. Like, this is his claim. You can say it's not true. That's fine. I can't validate it is. But he does have the backgrounds to have been in this situation and know, if anybody would know.
Department was the acquisition of spies and sources of information among businessmen from capitalist countries. It was in that year that our department recruited the 40-year-old businessman from the USA, Donald Trump, nicknamed Krasnov.
Now, our CIA has an entire domestic wing that is dedicated to not so much turning American businessmen, but basically they send people to like corporate leaders in America that do business overseas, and they'll say, hey, you know, we just want to talk to you about your visit. Was this said? Who'd you meet with? Who'd you do this? And most of the time, to be good patriots, they'll volunteer that information, right? But they have an entire domestic wing that this is just all they do. That's not even mentioning the foreign business leaders they try to get in front of. These are U.S. business leaders. So I'm sure the KGB does it as well.
The story begins in 1977. Trump's first wife, Ivana, a Czech citizen, had been monitored closely by Czechoslovakian secret service, and the reports confirmed Trump was a person of interest. In an interview with the Byline Times, Vladimir Milnov in 2019 stated,
Trump was identified as a useful opportunist by the KGB in the early 1980s.
In 1986, at a New York luncheon, Trump gets seated next to a USSR ambassador, Yuri Dubdin, and his...
So in 1987, while he's at this dinner, he gets sat next to a ambassador for Russia.
His daughter flatters.
And you have to remember, in the 90s, Trump was about to lose everything and looking for investors.
Trump by discussing Trump Tower in Moscow. And by July 1987, Trump makes his first visit to Moscow and Leningrad, and it's to negotiate a luxury hotel. He stays at the National Hotel's Lenin Suite, which is known for KGB surveillance. He meets Politburo officials and Soviet economic advisors.
Yeah, the actual people still call it the KGB, but it dissolved in 91 or whatever. It's now the GRU.
And according to Musayev, this is when Trump is recruited and given the code name Krasnov. And this is also coincidentally when Trump starts attacking NATO, because in September 87,
they basically took they basically put it in with the military intelligence, and it's all under one umbrella now.
Trump starts buying full-page ads in major newspapers, and he starts attacking NATO and U.S. foreign policy. It's also when Trump begins
taking out full-page ads attacking NATO and U.S. foreign policy.
September 87, Trump starts buying full-page ads in major newspapers, and he starts attacking NATO.
But why? Why would he suddenly start taking out full-page ads attacking... Like, he's got his own problems, right? He's got his own fucking problems. He's about to lose everything.
Incidentally, when Trump starts attacking NATO, because in September 87, Trump starts buying full-page ads in major newspapers, and he starts attacking NATO and U.S. foreign policy. It's also when Trump begins floating the idea of running for office.
Oprah asks if he might run for president someday.
I would never want to rule it out totally, because I really...
The Foreign Intelligence Services, the SVR, they're all under GRU now, I think, or the GRU. I don't know. I could be wrong, but...
tired of seeing what's happening with this country.
By 1991, Trump's financial struggles begin to take effect. His businesses suffer multiple bankruptcies, making him reliant on foreign money.
While his family life may have been on the rocks, his business empire was crumbling.
The headline was quite accurate. Welcome to the 90s, Donald. Because it was like he got whacked right in the face. It was amazing.
Trump opened his third casino in Atlantic City in April 1990. But just months after it opened, the Taj Mahal missed one of its debt payments, and Trump began looking for a bailout.
His empire could be at risk of collapse if the New Jersey Casino Commission decides not to approve Trump's bailout plan.
By the fall of 1991, all three casinos had filed for bankruptcy.
The Jersey Casino Control Commission has unanimously approved Donald Trump's bailout plan. That plan allows him to use his 3 Atlantic City casinos as collateral for a $65 million loan.
In order to finance a loan, Trump was forced to sell off his airline, his yacht, and...
there's the SFV and the SVR. One of them is like, it'd be like our CIA, NSA maybe. Like, one of them is supposed to be like internal, one of them is supposed to be external, or MI5, MI6. That's a good comparison. So you have the Federal Security Service and the Foreign Intelligence Service. That's the FSB is the Federal Security Service. It doesn't translate directly for the acronym. And the SVR is the Foreign Intelligence Service. Those could be backwards.
And a chunk of one of his earliest projects, the Grand Hyatt Hotel in Manhattan.
You know, I had a wife who was suing me for $2 billion. I had the banks, I had this, I had that.
And in 1996, Donald Trump returns to Moscow, and he meets with the mayor and other top city officials to discuss real estate projects. Russian oligarchs with Kremlin ties purchased Trump properties at inflated prices.
Ultra-wealthy Russians are buying up real estate in the United States, CNBC reported. Russian investors are also known to play by different rules, with a premium on discretion and a tendency to make all-cash deals.
That was mentioned in the Russian intelligence report by the Senate. Even as late as 2008, Donald Trump Jr. was confirming that Russians make up a disproportionate cross-section of a lot of our assets. And that was at a real estate conference. In 2013, Trump hosts Miss Universe.
They want to pretend like the KGB doesn't exist, and like they only do it for military targets or whatever. It's weird because we have a CIA. We know it exists. We just deny it's involved with anything. But it's not like we don't admit that it exists. I don't know. They kind of downplay it quite a bit.
In Moscow.
It's an amazing country with so many friends in Russia.
Russian roulette, the inside story of Putin's war on America and the election of Donald Trump. They say Trump personally reviewed all 16 Miss Universe finalists before they were announced on the show, and he sometimes overruled the judges.
He could decide, because it's his pageant, who wins and who loses, and he would personally inspect all the contestants and decide for himself.
That's so fucking creepy. What?
Who we liked, who we wanted up there on the stage.
The authors say that Trump was obsessed with the idea of meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin, but the get-together...
Now, they claim he was obsessed when he had this in Russia. Like, he was hardcore talking about it weeks leading up to all the presses that he was going to meet Vladimir Putin. Now, they say this meeting never happened because Putin got stuck in traffic. That's the claim. And because it never happened, this is a weird one. When Trump comes back to the States, he's met with a gift from Putin for not running into each other, not meeting. And it is a ornate black box that has a sealed letter in it directly from Vladimir Putin himself. Short of mentioning it like one time, Trump never, ever, ever talks about what's in this letter, what it said, why he received it, was there anything else involved? Like, he doesn't mention it anymore.
Together fell through, apparently due to a traffic jam in Moscow on pageant night that forced Putin to bail out. The authors say when Trump returned to America, Putin sent him a present as a consolation, a beautiful black lacquered box. Inside was a sealed letter. What the heck did that letter say?
Good question. No one knows. For years now, Donald Trump has not talked about this letter.
He brags about everything. Why would he not say, hey, we've been friends for a long time. He sent me this letter. It was very nice. So, blah, blah, blah. Why?
About everything else, but he won't tell us what was in this private letter from Putin to him.
And this is a period covered in Christopher Steele's dossier, which alleges a compromise, essentially meaning that Trump has been compromised because they have material.
Now, there was an after party after this thing, okay? So people throw out all the Steele dossier, and a lot of it was based on rumors and unverified or whatever. Some of it was true. And some of those rumors may or may not be true. So there was an after party after this pageant. And at least 2 girls have come forward and said that they were approached by Donald Trump and given his business card, personal phone number, hotel and hotel room numbers. And he basically said, come see me. Right? He wanted to fuck. Some people claim that Putin has compromising video of him in a hotel room, which wouldn't be outside of the scope of like what Russia does. They often have compromising information on people.
Material on Donald Trump, which is meant to involve In my research, I discovered this news story.
A married Donald Trump supposedly invited a Hungarian beauty queen to his hotel room after attending the 2013 Miss Universe pageant in Moscow. Former Miss Hungary Kata Sarka, age 30, told a reality show host last May that she was attending the pageant's after party when a man surrounded by bodyguards approached her. Sarka said, "A man approached me and grabbed my hand, drew me to himself, and asked, 'Who are you?' She added, 'He gave me his business card with his private number and told me in which hotel and in which room he's staying in, and his name is Donald Trump.' Sarka says she never took him up on his offer because he's not my type. Trump, who had been married to his third wife, Melania, for 8 years at the time, is under scrutiny over an unverified 35-page document that claims
he had been married for 8 years at that time.
The Russian operatives gathered damaging video recordings of perverted sex acts and information on the president-elect during the 2013 Moscow visit for blackmail.
This coincidentally seems to be a point where Trump begins to praise Vladimir Putin publicly.
Are you an admirer of the Russian?
I think he's done a great job.
This is back back in 2013. He was praising Putin.
Of outsmarting our country.
Putin even sent me a present. Beautiful present.
We just left Moscow. He could not have been nicer. Russia is like, I mean, they're really hot stuff.
He's running his country, and at least he's a leader, unlike what we have in this country.
But again, he kills journalists that don't agree with him.
Well, I think our country does plenty of killing also, Joe.
He said Donald Trump.
You see how that doesn't align, right? I was watching a guy earlier, hold on, and called him out for trying to be unbiased. So he kills journalists that don't agree with him. Our country kills people too. Yeah, but journalists that don't agree with you? Is that what we're saying? Is that the claim? It's not. There was a guy on TikTok earlier. It's like, I'm here to piss everybody off. I'm not right or left. And I'm just let's start with the right wing. How can you make fun of Zelensky or be mad about Zelensky not wearing a suit when Elon Musk doesn't always wear a suit? So that's one claim, right? I'm calling out the rights. Zelensky wasn't wearing a suit, but you guys don't call out Musk for wearing a suit. His other claim is like, now I'm going to call out the left. We supposedly sent Ukraine he didn't even say supposedly. We sent Ukraine $350 billion and $200 billion's missing. And when Zelensky finally retires, I guess he's just going to have $200 billion in his pocket. Like, those are not even. One is a true statement, right? The other is a big piece of propaganda that's been proven false that you've attributed to this guy who doesn't have it. And you're like, you see what I'm saying? Like, if I say, okay, well, your kid punched this kid in the face. He's just as bad as Osama bin Laden. Like, these are not equal things. You're not being unbiased. You're not calling out both sides. You're using a true statement, a false statement, and their orders of magnitude fucking different. $200 billion of theft for aid for your country versus this guy doesn't. You called this guy out. He doesn't wear a suit. What?
Trump is a genius, and he's going to be the leader of the party, and he's going to be the leader of the world.
Then we have the beginning of Trump running for president. And it just so happens at that same point, the FBI
said Donald Trump is.
Yeah, but again, he kills journalists that don't agree with him.
Well, I think our country does plenty of killing also, Joe.
He said Donald Trump is a genius, and he's going to be the leader of the party, and he's going to be the leader of the world.
Then we have the beginning of Trump running for president. And it just so happens at that same point, the FBI and CIA start to report on Russia doing cyber attacks against the Democratic National Convention. And ex-Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort admits sharing polling data with the Russians. Then there was this from Donald Trump asking Russia to investigate Hillary Clinton.
She gets subpoenaed, and she gets rid of 33,000 emails. That gives me a problem. Now, if Russia or China...
You don't want to have that argument.
Those emails? I mean, to be honest with you, I'd love...
Coach Red Pill. Coach Red Pill was not killed by Ukraine. Absolutely fucking not. The people closest to him even talked to him about him making these things up and how hard it was going to be on his life. Like, absolutely not did Ukraine kill Coach Red Pill. He's a fucking retard. He's an idiot. He died of fucking flu or whatever the fuck he had while he was in custody. They absolutely did not kill Coach fucking Red Pill.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably...
Directly reaching out for Russia to find these missing emails.
She gets rid of 33,000 emails. That gives me a problem. Now, if Russia or China or any other country has those emails, I mean, to be honest with you, I'd love to see them. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
I've covered Coach Red Pill for fucking 6 goddamn years. He's a grifter, a liar, and a piece of shit. And a racist piece of shit.
Is the president of the United States.
But from the very offset, Trump is beset on all sides about allegations of Russian interference.
Will you once and for all...
The hotel room they gave him is opposite of the GRU headquarters, and it's famous for... Oh, I'm sure.
All yes or no, definitively say that Russia interfered in the 2016 election?
I think it could very well have been Russia, but I think it could well have been other countries, and I won't be specific.
But you haven't condemned Putin specifically. Do you hold
he won't.
him personally responsible?
He won't. Like right now, he'll say, I can't because I'm trying to keep a deal. But other times, he's like, I don't know. What do you want me to say? Stand down and stand by, Proud Boys.
Well, I would, because he's in charge of the country, just like I consider myself to be responsible for things that happen in this country. So certainly, as the leader of a country, you would have to hold him responsible, yes. I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful.
It's pretty well documented about the list of journalists that have been killed in Russia. But
in his denial today,
I was more concerned about the Coach Red Pill, that grifting piece of shit, dude. Fuck him.
Trump refusing to blame Russia for election interference.
I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be. In a key sentence in my remarks, I said the word would instead of wouldn't. The sentence should have been, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't, or why it wouldn't be Russia. So, just to repeat it, I said the word would instead of wouldn't.
But it's only by 2000.
Why?
He's in charge of the country, just like
I won't be specific.
No, definitively say that Russia interfered in the 2016 election?
I think it could very well have been Russia, but I think it could well have been other countries, and I won't be specific.
But you haven't condemned Putin specifically. Do you hold him personally responsible?
Well, I would, because he's in charge of the country, just like I consider myself to be responsible for things that happen in this country. So certainly, as the leader of a country, you would have to hold him responsible, yes. I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial.
Crypto coin reserve could be a good idea if implemented well. A lot of ideas could be good ideas if they're implemented well.
Today,
President Trump refused.
And they could also be disasters if they're done poorly. But
blame Russia for election interference.
I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be. And a key sentence in my
I don't see any reason why it would be. I don't see any reason why it would be.
I said the word would instead of wouldn't. The sentence should have been, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't, or why it wouldn't be Russia. So, just to repeat it, I said the word would instead of wouldn't.
But it's only by 2019 that the Mueller report is released, a report that investigated Trump's ties to Russia.
Now, everybody dismisses the Mueller report as the Russia bullshit, but there's quite a bit in there. Right.
He interfered in the 2016 election in order to help Trump win.
Central allegation of our indictments that there were multiple systematic efforts to interfere in our election. And that allegation deserves the attention of every American.
It said that the Trump campaign had 140 plus contacts with Russian operatives. And then Trump attempted to obstruct justice at least 10 times, summarized by John Oliver.
It found our...
At least 10 times. Here's some highlights from it that I've got saved. It produced 37 indictments, 7 guilty pleas or convictions, and compelling evidence that the president obstructed justice on multiple occasions. Mueller also uncovered and referred 14 criminal matters to other components of the Department of Justice. Trump associates repeatedly lied to investigators about their contacts with Russians, and President Trump refused to answer questions about his efforts to impede federal proceedings and influence testimony of witnesses. A statement signed by over 1,000 former federal prosecutors concluded that if any other American engaged in the same efforts to impede federal proceedings the way Trump did, they would likely be indicted for multiple charges of obstruction of justice. Russian interference in the 2016 election was sweeping and systematic. That's a quote. Systemic. That's a quote. Major attack avenues included social media information warfare campaign that favored candidate Trump and hacking of the Clinton campaign-related databases and release of stolen materials through Russian-created entities and WikiLeaks. Russia also targeted databases in many states related to administering elections, gaining access to information from millions of registered voters. In 2015-2016, Michael Cohen pursued a hotel residence project in Moscow on behalf of Trump while he was campaigning for president. Then candidate Trump personally signed a letter of intent. Senior members of the Trump campaign, including Paul Manafort, Donald Trump Jr., and Jared Kushner, took a June 9, 2016 meeting with the Russian nationals at Trump Tower, New York, after outreach from an intermediary informed Trump Jr. that the Russians had derogatory information on Clinton, and that was part of Russia and its government's support for Mr. Trump. Beginning in June 2016, Trump associates forecast to senior Trump campaign officials that WikiLeaks would release the information damaging to candidate Clinton. A section of the report that remains heavily redacted suggests that Roger Stone was the associate and that he had significant contacts with the campaign about WikiLeaks. The report described multiple occasions where Trump associates lied to investigators about Trump associate contacts with Russia. Trump associates George Papadopoulos, Rick Gates, Mike Flynn, Michael Cohen all admitted they made false statements to federal investigators or to Congress about their contacts. In addition, Roger Stone faces trial this fall. This is an old when I copy-pasted this. Roger Stone faces trial this fall for obstruction of justice, 5 counts of making false statements, and 1 count of witness tampering. The report contains no evidence that any Trump campaign official reported their contact with Russia as required to by law or WikiLeaks to U.S. law enforcement authorities during the campaign or presidential transition, despite public reports on Russian hacking starting on June 2016 and candidate Trump's August 2016 intelligence briefing warning him that Russia was seeking to interfere with the election. The report raised questions about why Trump associates and then candidate Trump repeatedly asserted he had no connections to Russia. The Mueller report states that if the special counsel's office felt they could clear the president of wrongdoing, they would have said so. Instead, the report explicitly states it does not exonerate the president and explains, even though he says completely exonerated, I was completely exonerated, it specifically said this does not exonerate the president, and explains that the Office of Special Counsel accepted the Department of Justice policy that a sitting president cannot be indicted. So because of the policy, it doesn't exonerate him, and they have to use the policy. The Mueller report details multiple episodes in which there was evidence that the president obstructed justice, the patterns of conduct, and the manner in which the president sought to impede the investigation, including a one-on-one meetings with senior officials. It's damning to the president. 5 episodes of obstructive conduct stand out as being particularly serious. Here's the 5 episodes I saved for a reason, apparently. In 2017, June, President Trump directed White House counsel Don McGahn to order the firing of special counsel after press reports that Mueller was investigating the president for obstruction of justice. So he hears that Mueller's doing this investigation. And he asks him to fire him. 12 months later, Trump asked McGahn to falsely refute press accounts reporting this directive and create a false paper record on the issue, all of which McGahn refused to do. After National Security Advisor Mike Flynn was fired in February 2017 for lying to the FBI, investigators about his contacts with Russian Ambassador Kislyak, Trump cleared his office for a one-on-one meeting with then FBI Director James Comey and asked Comey to let Flynn go. He also asked that then Deputy National Security Advisor KT McFarland to draft an internal memo saying Trump did not direct Flynn to call Kislyak, which McFarland did not do because she didn't know if that was true or not. 2. That's 2. 3. In July 2017, the president directed former campaign manager Corey Lewandowski to instruct the attorney general to limit Mueller's investigation, a step the report asserted was intended, so this is direct quote from the Mueller report, it was intended to prevent further investigative scrutiny of the president and his campaign conduct. Number 4. In 2017 and 2018, the president asked the attorney general, the sitting attorney general, Barr, to unrecuse himself from the Mueller inquiry, actions from which a reasonable inference, I'm going to start over. Himself from the Mueller inquiry, actions from which a reasonable inference could be made that the president believed that an unrecused attorney general would play a protective role and could shield the president from ongoing Russia investigation. Number 5, the report raises question about whether the president, by and through his private attorneys, floated the possibility of pardons, right? You're not allowed to sell or promise or whatever with pardons, bribe, floated the possibility of pardons for the purpose of influencing the cooperation of Flynn, Manafort, and unnamed persons with law enforcement. So the report suggests that people were basically saying these people that outside were working with Russia, and Trump basically told them, well, if you get in trouble, I'll pardon you. Don't worry about it.
lot of other stuff, because just consider what we learned or had confirmed this week. Russia interfered in our election and made efforts to help Trump win. While his campaign did not provably cooperate with Russia, they seemed eager to accept their help in a way that no one should be comfortable with. Also, Trump may have obstructed justice, and if he didn't, it might only be because people who work for him ignored his orders. And on top of all of this, the Attorney General, the nation's top law enforcement official, has proven himself to be a dishonest hack.
Long, tense days, we've reached a historic moment in this election. CNN projects Joseph R. Biden Jr. is elected the 46th president of the United States, winning the White House and denying President Trump a second term.
And just to remind you all, when that man left office from losing fair and square, he ordered a load of people to attempt a coup.
They were peaceful people. These were great people. The crowd was unbelievable. And I mentioned the word love, the love in the air. I've never seen anything like it.
After a few years of licking his wounds and a few court cases showing that he sexually assaulted someone, Trump went straight back into battle and started attacking the UN, NATO, and other enemies of Russia.
NATO was busted until I came along. I said, everybody's going to pay. They said, well, if we don't pay, are you still going to protect us? I said, absolutely not. They couldn't believe the answer. They asked me that question. One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay. You got to pay your bills.
No doubt that put a bit of a smile on certain people's faces.
What's your relationship like with Vladimir Putin?
Very good, but I was tough with him. The Russian attack on Ukraine would have never happened. I got along very well with Putin. I got along with Zelensky. And I actually think that the way Afghanistan worked, the kind of withdrawal, it was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. When Putin looked at that, he said, wow, let's go in. Nobody ever heard of Nord Stream till I got involved. Putin said to me, it's the biggest thing. You ended it. You ended the pipeline. They all say you and I are friendly, but I'd hate to see you as an enemy. It's not that Putin is smart, which of course he's smart, but the real problem is that our leaders are dumb.
And despite everything that I've just shown you and we've talked about,
seems to line up pretty crazy, right? Right.
In 2024, Donald Trump won and became president of the United States. And boy, did he get off with a bang, starting off by calling President Zelensky of Ukraine, who'd been invaded, a dictator.
I love Ukraine, but Zelensky has done a terrible job. His country is shattered, and millions of people have unnecessarily died. He refuses to have elections. It's low in the real Ukrainian polls. I mean, how can you be high with every city is being demolished? It's hard to be high. Somebody said, oh no, his polls are good. Give me a break.
Do you think that President Putin of Russia is also a dictator?
I think that President Putin and President Zelensky are going to have to get together because you know what? We want to stop killing millions of people.
He was arrested for violating their law. He went to jail. He was released on bail. He comes out and claims he was tortured, which everybody around him denied. There was other reporters around him. Everybody around him denied that he made that up. Then he claims he's going to jump bail, so he gets picked up again. He's sick, and he dies of fucking his illness.
Young soldiers being killed. If you saw the pictures that I saw of the battlefield from satellite, you've never seen any pictures like that.
He's even attacked the UK and France.
If Putin likes Donald Trump, guess what, folks? That's called an asset.
Once upon a time, a young American businessman walked into the heart of Moscow, dreaming of power and fortune. He left with more than just business contacts. He left with a relationship that would shape his career, his presidency, and your world. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is Trump just a useful idiot, or have I got this completely wrong? And once again, thank you to all my patrons and YouTube supporters who keep this channel going and growing. If you'd like to help the channel for free, hit that like and subscribe button. Once again, thanks for listening. Bye for now.
It seems to line up. Seems to line up pretty bad. All right, some local news. I actually really wanted to go to this, but I was in court that day defending my rights to be mean to people on the internet. A lot of stuff adds up with Trump being a puppet for Russia. Even before he was running for office, even his son come out and said that for some reason, I don't know why, but an unlikely percentage of our tenants in the spaces that we sell and rent or whatever are Russian for some reason. I have no idea.
Congresswoman Diana
Zelensky didn't cancel the last election. It's written in their constitution they don't have elections. while they're at war and under martial law.
Congresswoman Diana Harshbarger met with constituents in Bluntfield today, while several people both inside and
So this is on February 28th.
outside of the meeting area protested. Those protesters voiced concerns with federal workforce cuts and the Trump administration. News Channel.
Not to mention he has overwhelming support. Ukrainian parliaments outside of Zelensky. No elections.
11's Brody Wilson was there and shares the intense back and forth that unfolded. Brody?
Things got intense as soon as Congresswoman Diana Harshbarger took the microphone to address constituents in Bluntfield earlier today.
If you want to be respectful, I'm going to explain what you think is wrong. And I don't know where you're getting your information. I'm here to give you truth. I'm here to tell you exactly how we're going to do this, and I want you to be respectful when I tell you.
Representative Harshbarger tried her best to discuss issues like the proposed federal budget resolution, securing the border, and tax cuts for average Americans. But the crowd's reaction made it hard to get through any of that information, with one person even having to be removed by law enforcement.
Their constitution forbids it. Like, I don't know did they just recently write it on paper? No. Their constitution, their founding documents, forbid it.
Congresswoman Harshbarger insisted throughout the meeting that her and her fellow lawmakers have
a portion of their country is occupied by a hostile force. How do you suggest those people vote? How do you suggest they protect polling places? They're bombing fucking hospitals. You don't think that a gathering of people to vote would be a target?
have the best intentions in mind.
Russia could here's how you know who the bad guy is. If Russians drop their rifles and go home, there would be no more war. If Ukrainians drop their rifles and go home, there'll be no more Ukraine.
The only thing we're doing is making the government accountable for your taxpayer dollars. Yeah. Is that a bad thing? That's all we're doing.
Some community members appreciate.
So one protester was taken out.
Harshbarger showing up and facing the tough crowds.
I also
Well, we got the video. I just want to show the news story first.
Listening and answering questions because it's a tough crowd. And I think if we don't work together as constituents, then we're just going to keep on being divided.
While others voice their concerns.
The biggest concern is pushing back on these cuts that Elon Musk and a group of teenage boys that aren't even old enough to rent a car are going through our data's information and personal people's information all under the guise of cuts. It's a lie. It's a smokescreen, and it seems very unconstitutional, if not illegal. And Diana Harshbarger is in full support of it, apparently.
I asked for an interview with Representative Harshbarger. Her team wasn't able to make it happen due to security concerns, but said they would be available next week.
So you want to see what the one protester got thrown out for? So the Republicans have been saying, do not do town hall meetings. If you have to, try to do it virtually and pre-screen the questions. They've been losing so bad at these town halls. People are fucking pissed. They've been losing so bad. Now, their ardent supporters, like that guy I always cover on my Facebook page, Bill Gaines or whatever, he's like, oh, they're doing an upstanding job because these leftist lunatics are being paid to come to these fucking town hall meetings and yell at them and blah, blah. No, people are fucking pissed. So this is the person. On February 28, 2025, Diana Harshbarger, Tennessee's 1st District, held a town hall event where she dodged questions and lied to her constituents. After repeated attempts to fact-check her lies and ask for transparency and truth, I was removed from the event. Now, everybody was yelling. Everybody was yelling.
We have one more question.
No. Are you kidding?
It'll start over in just a second. Just wait.
I did nothing wrong. I asked a question.
There's been a mandate to the president from the American people. Am I correct? No. All right. Well, let's just back up. There's not a mandate by the American people. Overwhelming 30%. Congressional budget office. You know what it's going to be?
The Children's Hospital in Kiev was hit on, I don't know, back during the summer. I think it killed like around 50 fucking people, injured like 200 people. That's one off the top of my head.
2035? it's going to be 59 trillion. Did I tell you? Listen, you've got people who pay.
Everybody's pissed.
More taxes. The top 1% of this country pays taxes. More taxes, and there's going to be 24.
So they're just like, stop giving tax rates to the rich. They pay more taxes than everybody else. So listen. Oh, this is bad.
$5 billion that we claw back because of tax remit payments, $10 billion in right-sizing immigration fees on asylum applicants, because these people are coming over the border and claiming asylum, and they are putting the strain on your Medicaid system.
You're cutting Medicaid.
We're going to have to raise the debt ceiling so we can put money toward the things that we.
10,000 civilians killed back in June of 2024, according to the UN Human Rights Monitoring Mission.
Like
Medicaid?
So, well, that's my specialty. It means you have to take care of your own people before you take care of somebody else. Now, let's talk about Medicaid in Tennessee. Let's talk about it. I know you're worried about cutting Medicaid. Raise your hand if you think that's what's going to happen.
That's not what we're doing. What we're talking about is able-bodied people that just don't want to work. We're just kicking them off.
And that's not what's going to happen. I said on the committee that, listen, I'm not Bill Lee. I'm not a state employee. I'm a federal employee.
It's on the United Nations website. I just Googled it. You don't get the UN.org?
If you want to be respectful, I'm going to explain what you think is wrong. And I don't know where you're getting your information. I'm the one who sits on the committee that is doing this. I'm here to tell you exactly how we're going to do this, and I want you to be respectful when I tell you. Is that good enough? Listen, a lot of people don't have the guts to come out here in front of you. Am I right? Okay. A lot of people canceled every COVID, or whatever they call them, town halls. They canceled them because people are protesting. People are saying, I don't want to answer those type of questions. I'm here to answer.
How weird. It's almost like people are fucking pissed.
Those tough questions and give you the reason and the logic behind those decisions. Do you understand me?
Thank you.
Okay.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
See, we can't be friends. I've seen you before and I've talked to you. Look, when you're trying to cut, it was something that really grabbed my spirit was when I read that by the time my grandsons who are 8 and 10 are in their 50s, do you know what the national debt would be? $300 trillion.
Again, if you're worried about the debt, why are we giving out these gigantic tax breaks? Even if you think they work for trickle-down economics, you're telling everybody else, tighten your belt. It's going to have to be tough. By the way, to this day, they found zero fraud, waste, or abuse. They've only found programs they don't like. Right, that's it. Like it was an approved program. We knew where the money went. We knew how they used. You just don't like it, so you put a spin on it, right? They found zero. Why 4.7 minimum trillion in tax breaks if the debt is the issue?
It's unsustainable now. It's unsustainable now, and we're trying to cut. We're trying just to bend that spending curve. People who don't agree are for big government. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that what I'm hearing? I think that's what I'm hearing. We've got to find 1.5 to 2 trillion in cuts. And that, yes, sir, that's what the budget resolution, that's what we've agreed on. And we did have Democrats to vote for that as well. There's just, well, listen to me, that's over 10 years, and you got to take your math, you got to divide it out. That's just 150 to 200 billion in cuts per year. Those savings would be just 2.3% of the government's 86 trillion in planned spending over the next decade. It's not a big ask. It's easy to get confused with million and billion.
It's only 2.3%, but who does that specifically target when we're talking about programs like food stamps and Medicaid? I don't give a damn if it's only 1% of spending. When it targets fucking poor people, what do you do while giving tax breaks to the wealthy? What are you doing?
Sometimes I find myself.
There may be an entire generation of people who can't afford a fucking home. Trickle-down economics doesn't work. CEO salaries have risen exponentially while everybody else's wages fucking stagnate.
I forget what the number is. It's a decimal.
You used to be able to have one guy working as the goddamn milkman, delivering milk in his town, with 4 kids and a wife at home every day, and he paid off his house in a few years.
And I'm like, oh my God, you know, it's a rounding error when you talk about so many million. It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
How much did you take out of Elon Musk?
Elon Musk doesn't get paid.
$8 million a day.
He makes $8 million a day. He don't get paid, guys. He don't get paid.
$8 million a day.
It's projected to spend over $7 trillion.
$14 million they spent in 2 weeks. He don't get paid, guys.
This year, $7 trillion this year. Stands to take you out. I want you to listen, and I want to talk to you, but you got to be respectful.
But we want the truth.
I'm giving you the truth.
But you said Elon Musk doesn't make any money from our government. He makes $8 million a day from government.
He has contracts. That's not my department, honey. If he has contracts,
it's government contracts. Who pays those government contracts?
Implemented in place before this year. When you listen to propaganda news and you don't go to the source,
When you listen to propaganda news.
Let me ask you something. How many of you belong to a Democratic agency that had paid you to come? None.
How many of you belong to a Democratic agency that paid you to come? Bullshit, dude. This isn't happening.
Where's your sign, okay?
Nobody.
Okay, now, you want me to get back to Medicaid?
Yes, Medicaid.
She implemented an expansion for Medicaid, and you're going to be shocked when I give you the numbers. That expansion, listen to me, that expansion includes people who are able-bodied and able to work.
Prove it.
I'm not lying. I'm giving you the truth, ma'am. I will give you the numbers, so you need to hush. Well, if you want to sit here and listen and not be argumentative, these people came to listen and to get the truth. Please, just don't argue.
So obviously people are being called out way more than this lady we're talking about here that we're looking. The lady that's videotaping this is the one that gets removed. She was just calling somebody out saying, don't do this, don't do this. This is the only woman that gets removed.
You the numbers. If you would just hush up long enough for me to get to, you can write them down.
It depends on where you look. Sometimes it's 1 for 5, 1 for 6, all the way up to like 1 for 13 when we're talking about just auditing the upper classes, right? The top 1%. But they definitely turn a profit on for every dollar spent on the IRS.
Let me tell you what Medicaid is intended for. It's intended for pregnant women, for the disabled, and for the elderly. That is all. Listen, shh, I'm trying to explain. All we want to do, and it saves $100 billion, is to take those able-bodied, nothing wrong with them, adults who are on this system and put work requirements of 19 hours a week. And it could be that you volunteer somewhere, that you are, if you're taking care of an elderly parent or a disabled person, that counts. If you're in a treatment rehab facility, that counts. 19 hours a week. Do you know how much that would save the government? $100 billion over 10 years to put the able-bodied people who were on Medicaid and reported zero income, just having them go out and put work requirements on that. How many of you work more than 19 hours a week for a job?
64% of people on Medicaid are working.
64%. You can bump that up to 76%. If you include, because they're caregivers.
If you do not qualify for Medicaid, why do we even have Obamacare? That's for the people that cannot get insurance. So you've got these people on
now they're fans of Obamacare.
Medicaid, and it's costing the federal government, even with the Medicaid reforms on fraud, waste, and abuse, listen to me.
You can't convince me that the issue is the debts and give trillions of dollars in tax cuts. You can't convince me of this. You only use the debts to scare people into agreeing to take shit from poor people. How come they were paying a higher rate back in the 50s or 60s and we were doing much, much better?
One person will be taken off Medicaid, and you can say what you want, not one. They will put per capita caps on the Medicaid that you're getting now based on the inflation index, and you send it to the state and you block grant that. And you better pray to God that your state knows how to do math. Not one person is taken off of Medicaid with this program, and you can save $880 billion just to send it back to the states.
Not one person is taken off Medicaid.
And let them implement the program. Not one person. And it would be
Where's the savings come from then?
up to the federal government anyway. They don't throw you off Medicaid. It's the state. Elon or what have you. And I've got, you know how many calls and how many pieces of email, and you have no idea. Get rid of the bomb. Get rid of the musketeers. Do this. Do that.
Do it.
I'm like,
The musketeers.
listen to me. We have to start somewhere in saving our country for our grandchildren.
Healthcare.
Oh, well, listen. Was Hillary Clinton elected to be Secretary of State? No. She was not. She was appointed.
You guys, it's going to come up in a minute, so might as well talk about it right now. You guys know what intersex people are, right? You have male, female, and intersex. So they are people that are born with whatever sex characteristics that do not fit between male and female for whatever reason. They're all categorized underneath that, intersex. They're not trans. They're not having surgeries. They're intersex. And that's basically like 2% of our population, somewhere around there. That's going to come up here in a minute, okay? That's like 2% of the population. It's not trans. It's not confused kids. It's just people that do not fit in a clean category of male or female. They're intersex.
Listen, was Hillary Clinton elected to be Secretary of State? No.
There's a difference between assigning the Secretary of State and making Elon Musk sort of the leader of Doge, but not the leader of Doge, sort of an employee, not an employee, sort of reports to Trump, doesn't report to Trump.
She was appointed by the Senate.
And appointed and confirmed by the Senate. Did you guys see Elon Musk get appointed and confirmed by the Senate? He probably would have, just because they're all fucking cucks, but still.
Go on these trips. Elon Musk has nothing to do with that. He's just doing it, putting people in place in these federal agencies to look out for your money. I came here for me to answer your damn questions.
And to tell the truth. And to tell the truth. We came for the truth.
Forgive me for saying that bad word. No, you know what? There's a point in time.
She's out here cursing and shit.
I came here for me to answer your damn questions. And
to tell the truth.
God, she's so flustered with that Karen haircut.
And to tell the truth. We came for the truth.
Forgive me for saying that bad word. No, you know what? There's a point in time when, there's a point in time.
I didn't know we were going to get this specific, but yeah, intersex would be an umbrella term that would cover a hermaphrodite.
When I'm trying to be respectful for you and I'm trying to give you the facts I've always done.
It's not the same. It's like trucks and F-150.
Never shirk my duty as a congresswoman. I get in front of you no matter what audience, whether it's hostile, whether it's friendly. I'm here to answer those questions, and you have to listen to me.
You have to listen to us too.
Facts so you can formulate a question that you can ask. What time is it, Patty? What time is it?
Oh, now she's running out of time.
Let's do this. We're going to open it for questions, but you cannot shout over one another. I won't pick you. I will not pick you. So, you got a microphone? I want some questions like, ask me what we're doing with the budget. Okay.
All right, guys, I'm going to work.
Yesterday, you posted a video on Facebook in which you said, well, this is normal. This is what companies do. They downsize, and this is how they do it. And I worked in the industry. I know this is not.
This is absolutely not normal. Right? This is absolutely not normal.
How companies do it.
That's right. That's right.
They're using a chainsaw.
That's right. That's right.
They don't fire the easiest people to fire just because they're easy to fire.
Well, there's a lot of downsizing that go on in companies, just like Charles said.
Yeah, the problem is, would you say that he was the head of Doge, considering he calls himself the head of Doge, directs the action of Doge, is the spokesperson for Doge? Because the White House said he was the head of Doge, and then 2 days later said he's not affiliated with Doge in any way. See how that can be confusing to everybody in the fucking world?
You don't want these people to lose their job, but I can tell you they'll repurpose these people, and that's what I've been told. That's one of my questions. That's one of my.
Oh, they're going to repurpose all the people they fired and can't get a hold of and can't find and can't get back and lost their emails. They're going to repurpose those people.
My primary question to the president.
I have called repeatedly. I would like to ask you, do you have confidence in what Elon Musk is doing, going into our databases in Washington? Do you have confidence?
Well, let me give you the truth about that. They have the people that Elon Musk has chosen to go in and just do forensic audits. I've told you this before, you can believe me or not, and I verified this. They have gone through background checks. They're not taking your information and putting it on the World Wide Web.
How do we know?
So everybody can see it.
How do we know? How do we know?
There's no oversight. It doesn't matter if they are or not. There's no way that we can confirm it's not happening.
If you are against we're exposing. The only way you would know any of this is if they went in. If we didn't have those young people going in and looking at these line item numbers, yes, ma'am. I have confidence that they are doing it the right way.
So this lady says, well, then I want you to sign a document that says that because of the action of Elon Musk and Doge, that my shit's not going to be leaked. I want you personally responsible to sign a document saying that I know that because of the actions of Elon Musk and Doge, that my information is not going to be leaked. You don't hire, right? If I told you I have the smartest geopolitical expert in the world, he spent his whole life studying the conflicts and internal struggles between the nation state of Iraq and Iran. That's all he fucking does. He is literally the smartest person in the world on the different sects of Muslims and Iraq and Iran and historically and the border. And he is the smartest person in the world. That's a pretty smart guy, right? Or at least he's dedicated a lot of time to becoming smarter. And you're like, hell yeah, it seems like a pretty smart guy. And then I told you he's going to, with no medical training, he's going to be performing your brain surgery. Would you be like, hell yeah? Sounds like he's genuinely smart, has no medical training, but he's a smart guy. He's going to be doing my brain surgery. And he's going to be doing it with a butter knife and an axe. That's the only tools we're going to give him. If you want an audit, hire an auditor. You didn't want an audit. You wanted the most retweets, so you hired the guy that owns Twitter.
Saying that my personal information and everyone else in this room should ask for such a letter. I want it signed.
Okay. Are you asking, now say that, you want me to sign a letter saying I have confidence in him that he won't cause the breach? No. Look, you can't even be sure that your information is not going to be breached when you go to the grocery store. Okay.
Right, but our congressperson isn't saying, I promise you that the grocery store is doing the right thing with your information.
I know where you're coming from, and I have confidence. Okay, I got you, and I have confidence, honey. All right, what's the next question?
I wonder how you felt about President Trump pardoning the January 6th
That's right.
committed crimes, especially those against our police officers, the men in blue. And the second
The violence against our police officers. We're supposed to be a back the blue state.
question is, how do you feel about President Trump saying that Ukraine was the aggressor in Russia?
I'll tell you one thing that happened. It seemed like Biden put out the order for electric armored vehicles. And it wasn't an order, like it wasn't a purchase agreement. It was basically putting this out to see who would have interest. And the only company that returned interest in fulfilling this contract was Tesla. So somehow along the lines, that contract got changed from armored electric vehicles specifically to Tesla. Then when we were called out, when that gets called out, they remove the Tesla part of it and return it back to armored electric vehicles. That's been since Trump's been elected. And then Marco Rubio comes out and says that the State Department will not be fulfilling that contract, which is not a contract yet. It was just to get. So usually they put it out and they see who gets interest, and then they'll put it back out after interest. They'll send it to companies for competing bids. Then somebody will win the bid. It doesn't have to be the lowest bid. It doesn't have to be the highest bid. It doesn't have to be the best bid, right? There's a lot of leeway in how you pick the bids. You can just claim that like, oh, I thought we were getting more value over here, or I thought they met the spirit of the contract more over here, kind of deal. But none of that happened, and somehow it got changed to Tesla. But it doesn't seem like they're going to be fulfilling that contract for $400 million worth of armored cyber trucks.
That's what it says right after he did the pardons. If there's someone that had a prior criminal record, then your state and local law enforcement should be able to track them with a blanket pardon. And I don't know who all he did pardon.
Do you support it? Do you support it?
I don't know who all he did pardon.
The Christians that prayed outside.
Do you support the January 6th pardoning?
He also pardoned the Christians that just were praying outside. How many Christians are praying outside, never entered the building that were charged?
That's what he asked. Just answer the question.
I was there.
I know, answer the question.
I wasn't outside. I didn't see what happened, but we know we're going to delve deeper into that to find out. And we're finding out that some of those people and those FBI agents were outside.
It's a yes or no question. Yes or no.
Why did the January 6th committee destroy him?
Diana Harshbarger is not as bad as like Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene or whatever, but she definitely peddles in conspiracy theories. I know. That should be our happy video we watched tonight. Was that guy catching a couple bullets?
It's a yes or no question. It's a yes or no question.
That was the Democrats who destroyed hundreds of pages of documents.
Answer her question.
So you can hear everybody screaming. Obviously, the one we're listening to that's recording the video is louder, but everybody's screaming. Multiple people have been called down. There's only one person that gets removed, though, and that's our videographer here.
Can you answer the question?
I told you that I agree with the parts of some of those people who walked in and walked out. Anyway, well.
What about the ones that attacked police? That was specifically the question, right? The guy that stuck a taser to the back of a guy that was being crushed to death. A police officer that was being crushed to death up against the wall.
Listen to me. The January 6th pardons, President, that was one of the promises he made on the campaign trail, and he did. And I told, at the first interview I did after the fact, if there are people with prior criminal records for whatever reason, your local law enforcement are going to know that. And I've talked to the sheriff about that. Ukraine. I don't know what President Trump said. I wasn't there, but it is not. I haven't voted for one dime for Ukraine because they cannot show me. They're taking your taxpayer money and giving it. What we are finding with the money that was sent to you.
Oh, let's talk about something. Somebody called me out on this today. Real quick with the money in Ukraine. The claim is Trump says shit like, oh, well, 300 or 350 billion has been sent to Ukraine and 200 billion of it's missing. That was one of the claims. Somebody said that. Take that missing 200 billion and protect yourself. Oh, but he's going to retire on it. This is not true, okay? I think we're somewhere a little over 100 billion. And Zelensky came out and made a video and says, you're claiming that Ukraine got 100, 120, 150, whatever billion, but we've only received somewhere, there's like 70-some billion. So I don't know where the rest of it went. Not every dime that's earmarked as Ukrainian aid went directly to the government of Ukraine, either in cash or military equipment mostly, or rockets or whatever, right? So Ukrainian aid, stuff that's earmarked for Ukrainian aid, falls under anything to help Ukraine in their war. So the vast majority of it did go as military equipment to Ukraine, Ukrainians' government. Some of it went to like NGOs in Ukraine or like third-party field hospitals or nonprofits in Ukraine. Some of it went to the fucking U.S. companies that were shipping humanitarian supplies, and like they were building these boxes and sending stuff over. They were buying stuff for citizens and sending it over. They were buying supplies. So every dime of this, we know where it went. There is none missing. There is none that used to buy lots or yachts or houses in Florida or whatever. There is none missing. The amount that was specifically sent to the Ukrainian government went to the Ukrainian government, mostly as tanks and javelins and missiles and rockets and ammo and guns and everything else. The humanitarian portion went to the humanitarian people, and the part that stayed in the U.S. and was sent as supplies. Just because something's earmarked as Ukrainian aid, people think that every fucking dime of that goes through Zelensky for some reason. It doesn't, right? There's other forms of aid that are for the country of Ukraine that doesn't go to the Ukrainian government. I tried to explain this to a guy today. I even dropped him a link. He wouldn't read it. He just yelled about it.
Ukraine is that it didn't go to Ukraine a lot of it. We know that Russia provoked this war.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know what context he even meant that in. But I'm just saying, look, I wasn't at the breaking press conference.
So she just doesn't happen to know anything. Like the biggest fucking news stories here. The biggest fucking news stories about him calling a dictator, saying, that repeating all the Russian talking points, right? I don't know what context he said that in. I've just been so busy.
Doing my job. I'm trying to save the country. And so, I don't watch the propagandist news, man. I don't. Okay.
I don't watch the propaganda's news. I don't.
Next one.
Okay, for second time, we got time for one more.
One more? Medicaid.
Stand up.
12:30.
Well, what time is it? I have a budget question.
12:04, and she was supposed to be there till 12:30.
Representative Hartsbarger, thank you for being here. I know it's not easy, but we have real concerns, and we are your constituents too, and we don't agree with you. I like it on record that I've not been paid to be here or to speak. I'm a retired public school educator with 33 years of experience. In service, I taught middle school, high school, and college level U.S. government. I'm speaking today in regard to the Affordable Care Act. My husband and I currently have health insurance through the marketplace created by the Affordable Care Act. I'm a survivor of breast cancer from 2021, so I have a pre-existing condition. I've looked into acquiring private health insurance and have been told I will not be eligible for another 4 years. If not for the ACA, I would be uninsured. I have a niece on the ACA who has diabetes. She has a pre-existing condition and will be unable to acquire private health insurance as well. I'm fully aware that Project 2025, which is the blueprint this current federal administration is following.
Yep.
I haven't read Project 2025.
You should have.
Excuse me. Tell me the truth. In all due respect, everything that is happening was part of Project 2025. Excuse me. Please let me answer that question. Okay, I'm shaking. This is very important in my life.
We're behind you.
Okay? In all due respect here, Project 2025 is happening before our eyes.
Yes, it is.
Okay?
Yes, it is.
Whether you have read it or not.
Yes, it is.
Okay, then maybe you
Well, so what do you think she's going to say, chat? Whether you believe it, whether you look through it or believe it or whatever, right? Project 2025 is happening right in front of our eyes. What do you think she's going to say? She's going to say President Trump denounced Project 2025. Does that matter in this context? Does that matter at all in the context? If it's happening, if he'd have took a copy of Project 2025 and wiped his nutsack on it, does that matter if he's doing it?
You should, because that is what is happening. So
Yes.
here's my question.
You should know.
Okay, I came here to sit in line for this. Okay. I need to know where you stand on this issue. According to 2025, Project 2025, there'll either be the elimination of the ACA or extreme restructuring. I will be unable to get insurance. This is a person.
She had breast cancer, right? She has pre-existing conditions. She cannot get insurance without Obamacare.
Issue for me. I need to know, and I hope people are recording this because I'm going to keep you to your word what you said on this. Because we are in a situation where, our representatives in our Senate so close between Democrats and Republicans, it will only take a few of you to be brave enough to stand up.
Woo! Yeah, that's right. That's right.
This is what I understand, and I have not read 2025, and the president disavowed 2025.
He disavowed Project 2025. Out of 297 goals in Project 2025, 86 of them are already done and 42 of them are in progress. We're just over a month in. We're just over a month in. And 128 of the 300 goals are already fucking either done or on their way.
We're never going to get rid of all the Obamacare. We just won't, because that's a safety net program. That's why when we talk about Medicaid, you're not going to. You're just going to get rid of the fraud, waste, and abuse.
It's going to be voted on. Where do you stand?
Again, to this day, their biggest claims, they have not shown a single shred of evidence, even if you concede their most blatant lies. Like, they gave money to this humanitarian group and they started a transgender duck catching opera that only celebrates Black Indigenous Pride Month. That's just a program you don't like. Most of these claims are false about trans operas and shit like that, right? They actually just go to a group and this group also supports another thing, so they're claiming the two are the same, right? Like if I stay in a hotel room one night and then you call me a 365th owner of the hotel room, like those are not the same. But even if you concede those, that's just a program you don't like. The money was approved. The money was signed off on. All of Congress pushed it through. It went by the president. It was approved. It was signed off on. It was paid out. Where is the fraud, waste, or abuse? What was fraudulent about it? They decided to give the money to this organization. That organization used that money. That's just a program you don't fucking like.
Listen to me. I'm trying to explain. I need to know. You're not going to go without insurance. There's going to be a safety net program, I'm sure. And because I don't know what the president's finally going to say, but we know that there are millions of people.
There's a big issue in Luigi's case. I don't have time to cover it tonight, but there's a big issue. The fact that he was detained and questioned and even searched without ever being, or he was under the impression that he was arrested. He wasn't allowed to leave. They basically blocked the booth he was in, blocked the doors and shit, and they never read him his Miranda rights. There's a big issue in the case. Huge. It's, all the evidence they found in his bag might be thrown out. Every question he gave them, the fake ID he gave them, all of that might end up getting thrown out. We'll have to cover it more in depth, but even lawyers are weighing in saying this is fucking huge. So, like, even if you're not technically arrested, if a reasonable person would think, I can't leave, the police are not allowing me to leave, then you're detained and you're being questioned, right? So when they come up and block the booth and say, hey, you know, we'd like to ask you a few questions, right? They had like 7 cops there at the doors, at the booth, 4 cops there. He's at one time he's asked if he's detained. They tell him yes, then they tell him he's not. Then they tell him he's free to leave at any time. Like 15 minutes later, there's a big issue in the case right now. So I don't know how it's going to end up because he's got a lot of support from like just like regular fucking people. Obviously, like Free Luigi, but like the establishment fucking hates him, right? Fucking hates him. Like they're already running on him being guilty and we caught him and all that shit.
I went to Congress. They offered Obamacare to me, and now there's millions of Americans who have pre-existing conditions. This was the whole premise.
I understand all that. I need to know where you stand.
We want to have to be a safety net program for people like you.
Are you going to support
Yes, of course. Listen, I'm on the committee that will make these choices.
The committee cutting Medicaid.
Man, you don't have to work. There's going to be a safety net program. I don't know why.
But are you going to fight?
She's on the committee that would cut Medicaid. $880 billion over 10 years. That's the entire budget of Medicaid, by the way.
Yes, I just told you. It's almost like you think I'm the devil or the cartel and I'm the enemy. I am not. I am here to work for you to make sure you don't fall under that. Okay, so listen.
By the way, that crazy guy on Facebook was like, oh, she stood up to these paid leftists that showed up. That
The president understands that too. It is up to me. It is up to me and my physician colleagues and my healthcare colleagues on both sides of the aisle to make sure there is some kind
this
of
is.
for those.
I don't know if I mentioned this. This is my representative. Diane Harshbarger. I hate her. Okay, at this point, I was increasingly frustrated with her lies and non-answers. I believe we should always fact-check our representatives when they are not telling the truth. She made a blatantly false, unscientific claim that people are born only one of 2 genders. This ignores nearly 2% of the population that is born intersex. I tried to stay calm, but I was tired of the lies, so I attempted to ask her a clarifying question. And when she refused to answer my question, I was removed by the police. I was the only person removed, but I was not the only person holding her accountable and using my voice. Listen, Destiny made a statement the other day saying that if anything, this just proves that the deep state does not exist. Because holy shit, would they have stepped in by now?
Right. These young women will never win another championship or get another scholarship because biologically you're born a man or a woman.
No. Intersex people exist. Intersex people exist. Do intersex people exist? Do intersex people exist?
Which is clearly true. We're not even talking about trans, and she's gonna like, oh, when they cut your parts off? What? Intersex people exist.
Do intersex people exist? Do intersex people exist? Do intersex people exist? Yes or no?
You're changing from one sex to another.
Intersex is not changing.
I'm not going to address the issue.
You brought it.
You brought it up. I'm answering
You
this
lied.
question.
I'm gonna
Do you want
respectfully
a
ask you to
man
walk
that
this way,
is
please.
10 times stronger?
You're gonna kick me out for asking her to answer a question.
Let's walk this way.
You're gonna kick me out for asking her to answer a question that she won't answer? Everybody else is yelling. Why do I have to leave?
And now
You
she
have been
can't
causing
even-
a scene since you got here.
Everybody's been causing a scene.
Well, step back, let's walk.
Because she was paralyzed because of the hint that he gave her. That is I'm not going to back up on my decision to support Title IX.
Are you serious? Everybody is yelling.
I hope that the president will take...
For asking the congresswoman if intersex people exist. I want to know if intersex people exist. I want to know if intersex people exist, and she won't answer the question.
Ask people out here.
I appreciate you all showing up, whether you like my answer or whether you
Is this...
Congresswoman, we have one more.
Okay, we got one more question.
Are you kidding me? No. Are you kidding me? She didn't do anything. I did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. I asked a question.
So Bangladesh is the Bangladeshi population is one of the most inclusive for this third gender type of people, right? It's been around forever, right? Even though it was criminalized under the British rule, they were still around. They were still out in the open. They were still there. I don't know if they use the term transgender as much as third gender. The Bangladeshi government legally recognizes these people, or at least they're trying to legally recognize these people, and help with employment and other things there. You can read about these, all the steps they've taken, right? We have foreign aid that goes to NGOs that do a bunch of shit, right? Medical, health, vaccinations, all kinds of shit, but also support the LGBTQ community. Just because we send money to an NGO that supports the LGBTQ community, if that NGO also does something with fucking performers in Bangladesh, you can't tie the two together.
I asked a question. I want my water bottle in there. I'll bring it. Thank you.
Thank you. What was your question?
I promote kindness, empathy, critical thinking. On my channel, my emotions were high, and I wish I'd remain calmer at the same time. Our representatives are not paid to lie, and when they lie, we should speak up. I don't think she did anything to get kicked out more than anybody else did. But that was her view of Diane Harshbarger. Let me go read you this Facebook post. Let's do it here. Oh, it might already be in my search. It is. I don't think she should have been removed. I don't think she should be the only one removed. I just don't think that's it. No, it was on January 28th, so I'm going to go back a little bit. Hold on. He's got all these insane posts about Zelensky as well. Oh, he's got a post from that Avery Warwick, the one with the meat sweats or whatever. You can be very proud of your Congresswoman, Diana Harshbarger. She was ambushed at her Coffee with Constituents meeting today by an organized group of Democratic protesters who were very rude, loud, ugly, and disruptive. She made a valiant effort to address the issues, inform and answer questions, and managed to keep her cool while protesters shouted and screamed over her while she tried to speak. This behavior was organized and intentional, and it was disgusting. That's what they got out of this. People being pissed out of our fucking representative. That's what they took away from it. Like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Something's wrong with them. Let's see. Here is a very short clip. We won't have time to get in deep into it. I saw somebody cover it, and I can't remember. I wonder if I can go check it out on my history. Is that even how you spell Luigi? Explosive allegation. Here it is. That's a longer video, but we can watch some of it.
Miranda rights come into play when two things happen. A suspect is in custody, arrested, or not free to leave.
No, they were attacking him.
Question the suspect. Luigi's attorney is clearly showing that he was not free to leave. Really no physical exit for him to leave. Seems like he was in custody, and they didn't read him his Miranda rights, so you tell me. Hey, it's Jordan. I am in...
You realize when an NGO qualifies for something, it's because they do something that we like. It doesn't mean that we agree with everything they do. It doesn't mean that we parse out dollar bills and say, you're only allowed to do this. An NGO might provide health care and family planning services. They might promote fucking community events and festivals. They might do all kinds of shit. And we specifically give them money because we want them to do these things that we like in that country. If they also have promote a wine festival, we didn't give them money to host a wine festival.
Flint, Michigan, East Palestine, Ohio, Tumwa, Iowa. Please support the only independent outlet on the ground. Filing was filed at the end of last week. Covers up.
All right, so this is a new filing. This is from 3 days ago, but it's filed at the end of last week.
Major and I believe potentially explosive court filing was filed at the end of last week by Luigi Mangioni's attorney in Pennsylvania. And that court filing, from my reading, it's 23 pages, and I just read the whole thing. It only became available yesterday. Could have major ramifications for his case in Pennsylvania, as well as his state of New York case and federal case. And when I say ramifications, I mean actually help him. Disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer, but I read a lot on Google while reading this 23-page document, and it sure seems, based on my reading of it, his arrest in Pennsylvania and several parts of it might have been illegal, and therefore evidence that was obtained against him from that arrest
would be non-admissible. But here's the thing. How do I explain this? The evidence is only thrown out if there's not another circumstance where they may have come across that evidence. So let's say you get pulled over by a cop. He doesn't have a reason to search your car, but he does anyways and finds drugs. If your car, because of something else, not the drugs, if your car was already going to be impounded and they would have found the drugs when they would have done the inventory anyways, then that could still be admissible. It's not just like it's all thrown out because of this. It's all thrown out if there's no other reason they may have stumbled across this evidence anyways, legally.
He's suppressed, meaning not admitted into trials against him. Before I get into the reading of the court filing, and I'm going to read most of it, so buckle up, don't go anywhere. Let me show you what his New York attorney, Karen Friedman-Agnifilo, said specifically about this search and seizure violation in Pennsylvania. This is what she said about it outside of the courthouse where I was on Friday.
And we are concerned that Luigi's constitutional rights were violated in Pennsylvania, and there are serious search and seizure issues that will be litigated in that case in Pennsylvania and in this case here and in the federal case, because it is alleged that Luigi had a gun on him and had other property on him that they are going to use against him in all of the cases. And if there is a search and seizure issue, and again, we have to review all of the paperwork and camera footage when we receive it before we say definitively whether we think there is one. But so far, what we are seeing is we think there is a serious search and seizure issue, and so we want the opportunity to litigate it, including in Pennsylvania, where he was supposed to have a court date on February 24th, but the Department of Justice is refusing to transport him and allow him to face the charges in Pennsylvania. So he cannot litigate those issues in Pennsylvania.
So she is referring to his Pennsylvania attorney's filing, which I believe was filed that day on Friday. I want to show you something else she says, because she indicates that this potential search and seizure violation, which I'm going to go into in detail, could suppress evidence not only in the Pennsylvania case, but also the New York case, the state of New York against him and the federal government's case against him. Let me show you that part.
And so we are concerned because if the chief of detectives is telling everybody about all this evidence, and what if it ultimately gets suppressed because it was an illegal search and seizure in Altoona, Pennsylvania, how is he going to get a fair trial?
Okay, now that I have set you up on their concerns and
so this could be huge
of the illegal search and seizure in Pennsylvania, I'm going to go through the document. Again, it's 23 pages. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read extensively. So I know we only have so much time, you in the audience, but if you're interested in this case, I really hope you'll stick with me because honestly, the allegations by Mangioni's Pennsylvania attorney are explosive and seem to me that the Pennsylvania cops seriously fucked up, which might fuck up all cases against him, or at least give Mangioni's defense a much better chance than they would have had. All right, so I'm going to start with this part. This is in the motion. The defendant believes that the instant charges are not supported by a prima facie case, so that's the petitioner's detention or confinement on the instant charges are illegal. Legal terms, prima facie case means that the claims being presented to a court has merit when taken at face value, so they believe basically they do not have merit. Petitioner further avers, which is basically asserts, that any evidence seized, obtained, or in the possession of law enforcement and or the Commonwealth purportedly in support of any of the instant charges was obtained illegally and unlawfully. So let me take you through the sequence of events here. On December 9th.
I just want to get to the part where he talks about the cops. Then we don't have time to cover the rest of it.
in Altoona, where he was detained. On or about December 9th at approximately 9:29 a.m., defendant was approached in a McDonald's located address in Altoona by two uniformed, armed, and fully equipped officers of the Altoona Police Department. Said uniforms exhibited badges, patches, and other identifying insignia indicating their identity as police officers. And real quick, I will put the link to this motion in the description if you'd like to read along. Defendant was seated at a corner dining table that had a wall directly behind him and to his left. There also was another
Seems like they blocked his exit.
Occupied chair to his immediate right. Defendant's only natural path and or route of egress was to his right, meaning exit would be to his right. Upon their arrival, Altoona Police, Detweiler immediately posted himself to the right of the defendant and within approximate arm's length of the defendant. This action taken in order to detain and or totally curtail the liberty of the defendant and to restrict the defendant's path of travel or egress from the table where he was sitting. These actions were performed to clearly exhibit said officer's authority over the defendant. The unoccupied chair was...
If a reasonable person would think that they were under arrest or detained or whatever, then they're questioning him. He has to be read his Miranda rights, and he wasn't until far into this whole ordeal.
Between the law enforcement officer and the defendant. No explanation was given to the defendant relative to why the police approached him at McDonald's. At most, police indicated that he had, quote, looked suspicious and had overstayed his welcome as a patron at McDonald's. It is stressed that the defendant was being detained, and other than that he merely had overstayed his welcome as a patron at McDonald's. Defendant had been at McDonald's as a customer for approximately 30 minutes. It is clear Altoona Police provides a specious and unreasonable reason for approaching the defendant. To wit, it must be assumed the defendant was being detained for an investigation to which he was not informed. The accompanying Altoona Police...
An investigation he was not informed about, or his rights.
Officer Fry positioned himself next to Detweiler's right and next to the dining table, resulting in the formation of a human law enforcement wall, further detaining and totally curtailing defendant's liberty, while additionally restricting defendant's path of travel or egress for the table at which he was seated. The existence, position, and placement of the two...
He could have asked if he was free to go, sure, but if it's implied that you're not free to go, then that's enough to trigger this.
Officers was intentionally done to further exhibit said officer's authority over defendant. So the human wall part is very important. It's kind of like, think of yourself if you've been at a protest and police officers create what they call a shield and then arrest you for not leaving. Well, they've created a shield around you which doesn't allow you to leave. Well, legally, it matters if you are actually in custody, because if you're technically in custody, you're supposed to have your Miranda.
Most people,
but technically
they take that into account. Most people are too intimidated to ask, right?
Being in custody you don't have to formally be arrested. Part of being in custody means you don't feel you have the ability to leave. You don't have the freedom.
Right. You just had to, an average person, normal person would infer that they're not free to leave.
To exit. So that's why the attorney is painstakingly going into the positions of the officers and that they had closed off any ability for him to exit. At no time did the two officers indicate the defendant was free to go, nor did they explain the reasons as to why he was being detained. Upon approaching the defendant, Officer Detweiler immediately made commands and instructions to the defendant, including but not limited to providing his identification, standing up, placing hands on his head, the totality of the circumstances, including but not limited to the positioning, demeanor, mannerisms, commands, directives, instructions, and other actions of Altoona PD showed that at the time the request for identification was made.
They fucked it up bad.
The request was required. Defendant avers that the totality of these circumstances clearly shows that he was seized and
But it's also very weird that I don't think he can get a fair trial. Who hasn't heard about this? I don't know that he can get a fair trial.
Detained at the time and was in custody of the
Police
Department. Any reasonable person in the defendant's position would have thought she was being restrained, detained, and otherwise
any reasonable person
not free to leave. The curtailment of defendant's liberty and the detaining of the defendant at this time was in violation and in contravention of the 4th Amendment and the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and Article 1, Section 8 of the Pennsylvania Constitution. So, 4th Amendment of the Constitution, that would be
search and seizure,
protected from unreasonable search and seizures by the government. 14th Amendment has a couple different provisions, but that's the birthright citizenship part, which has obviously kind of been under assault by President Trump, and Article 1, Section 8 of the Pennsylvania Constitution, which is referenced here, security from searches and seizures. The people shall be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and possessions from unreasonable search and seizures, and no warrant to search any place or to seize any person or thing shall issue without describing them as nearly as may be, nor without probable cause.
It also, 14th Amendment, yeah, it's birthright, but it ensures equal protection under the law, right? You can't deprive people of life, liberty, property without due cause.
His attorney is alleging federal constitutional violations and state of Pennsylvania constitutional violations. And it seems pretty clear to me there's meat on the bone here for those constitutional violations. Both police officers from the Altoona Police Department continue to interrogate and question the defendant without any reading of his Miranda rights as required by both the Constitution of the United States as well as the Pennsylvania Constitution. These questions were designed to potentially incriminate the defendant. So I want to get into the Miranda rights. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so feel free to leave in the comments if you disagree with me. Miranda rights, there is a slippery slope and there's different interpretations, particularly by state. But if you really look at the nitty-gritty, the main part that's relevant about Miranda rights is when they have to be read, where there is no slippery slope. I'll read this for you. Miranda rights come into play
when a suspect is in custody, arrested, or not free to leave, and they want to question. If they have you dead to rights, they don't have to read you shit, right? Because they have, like, you ran a stop sign, right? They don't have to read you shit. Or they saw you shoot somebody. They don't have to read you shit. It's only when they don't and they want to question you and you're not free to leave or believe you're not free to leave.
When two things happen. A suspect is in custody, arrested, or not free to leave, and police want to question the suspect. In legal jargon, that is called custodial interrogation. Both parts must be true.
Police have deprived that person of their freedom of activity.
Miranda rights to kick in. When is a suspect in custody? While handcuffs are a good indication that someone's in custody, circumstances that fall short of a formal
or a freedom of action in any significant way. Oh, sorry.
It is considered in custody anytime police have deprived that person.
In other words, the person doesn't feel free to walk away. They had to read him his Miranda rights.
Of their freedom of action in any significant
I think it's pretty cut and dry. Although, a lot of politicians, a lot of judges, a lot of cops already fucking hate this guy because the way that other people are trying to make him out to be a hero. You know what I'm saying?
In other words, the person doesn't feel free to walk away. Well, here, Luigi's attorney is clearly showing by outlining where the offices were, where the exits were, the manner.
If you were surrounded by 7 cops at a McDonald's that you were sitting at, would you feel like you could just leave at any time?
They were speaking to him that he was not free to leave. He wasn't physically. There was no exits.
Told him to stand up, turn around, place his hands on top of his head, pat him down, set him back down in the booth, and then start talking to him.
Physically for him to leave, and the spirit of the questioning and the commands made clear he was not free to leave. Also, what is an interrogation? Interrogation means questioning. Questioning doesn't have to be formal or conducted at a police station. It can occur anywhere.
Good deal, Marina.
A squad car or a hospital. Questions can be direct. Did you rob the bank? Or they could be comments or actions by the officers. Not every situation lends itself to a clear indication that a custodial interrogation is taking place. A judge has the final say on that. Courts consider several factors to determine whether the interrogation was custodial, including how intimidating, coercive, and compelling the environment was. For instance, bringing a suspect to the police station and having an armed officer conduct a 3-hour-long interview points to a custodial interrogation, whereas a 15-minute interaction on the street initiated by the person and not the officer leans towards non-custodial. Well, you got 2 officers around you. As I'm about to show you, more showed up. There's really no physical exit.
And it sounds like we haven't seen it, okay? It was an employee at the McDonald's. We haven't seen it, but it sounds like the lawyer has the security footage, which means the prosecution does too. Like they have to share everything, but we haven't seen the security footage from there.
For him to leave. Seems like he was in custody and they didn't read him his Miranda rights. So you tell me, you tell me. Getting back to this, at no time did the defendant exhibit any threatening gesture or other show of force. Officer Detweiler further directed.
Talk about a class trading motherfucker. Like you work at McDonald's, dude. You work at McDonald's, 3rd shift. What are you doing? I think I found him.
And commanded the defendant to stand up in order to undergo Terry frisk, which is a pat-down. Although no circumstances existed at that time justifying said action, it is averred that said actions were further performed in order to clearly exhibit the Altoona police officers' dominion and control over the defendant. The Altoona PD took possession and control of identification materials presented by the defendant and continued retention of this material. The positioning of law enforcement officers' personnel and the retention of...
If they get a conviction, I think they stand... Rewards are very, very weird. Okay, they want to try their hardest not pay out rewards. We found this with that group that finds missing people, like dead bodies and missing people or whatever. That ended up the leader of it was like a pedophile. But rewards, there was a $50,000 reward, and if there's a conviction on Luigi from that stemmed from them finding them from that tip, then potentially they'd be eligible for that. But there's also a lot of other things. Like they'll try to say, well, we could have found him this way, or we would have run into him, or we have an officer at that McDonald's all the time. They probably would have seen him. Like there's a bunch of weird loopholes for rewards for shit.
Of a person's identification materials for a background check, evidence of criminal activity, and or other investigative measures signal to a reasonable person that they are implicitly commanding the person to remain on scene while doing so. At one point, Officer Detweiler walked outside McDonald's while in possession of identification materials. During that brief interval, Officer Fry remained with the defendant within an arm's length and continued to curtail the liberty of the defendant, block his route, path of travel, ingress, egress, and movement from the dining table at McDonald's. Within minutes, other members of Altoona PD, both uniformed and plainclothes, arrived at McDonald's. This resulted in the defendant...
This bitch went on Facebook afterwards and was bragging about it. She's deleted her Facebook now. Her name was it Nancy or Macy Parker, I think was her last name. And she bragged about it, and then she deleted her Facebook.
Path of travel from the dining table being blocked and prevented by 2 fully uniformed and armed Altoona police officers. Another fully uniformed armed Altoona PD officer remained on the other side of the dining table. Numerous officers, approximately 3 to 4, also blocked the path. route of travel from the dining area in which defendant was seated to the service area of McDonald's. A member of the Altoona Police Department questioned the defendant about whether or not the backpack, plastic bag, and other items belonged to the defendant. At that time, Altoona police officers seized the items and packages and placed them in an area behind law enforcement personnel. At all times thereafter, there remained Altoona police officers stationed between the defendant and the items of property believed to belong.
This is another thing. They took his belongings and put them behind a police officer and kept him separate. That definitely makes you feel like you're not free to leave. They took your shit, separated you from your shit, and a cop is guarding your shit. Obviously, you're not free to leave then, right? Because you would even have to ask permission to get your shit back.
Belong to defendant. These items of property remained in the control of Altoona police throughout. Defendant believes this action further supports his belief that he was not free to go. In order for the defendant to exit the dining table to venture to the service area of McDonald's, he would have had to pass no less than approximately 7 to 10 members of Altoona PD. At this time, it is believed that there was an excess of 10 law enforcement personnel surrounding the defendant in the small dining area. It again became abundantly clear that the defendant's curtailment of liberty, seizure, and unlawful detention and custody continued by this group of law enforcement personnel.
So there you go, folks. It might be thrown out. So that's what I got for you. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. We've just been talking shit about people. That's most of them. They started calling her the McSnitch. Nancy Parker, the McSnitch, doesn't even get the reward money because she called 911 instead of the actual tip lines, which she might. I know that was a rumor that was going around for a while. Go ahead and clock in for your shift, Nance, and just put the fries in the fucking bag. Hold on. What is these? What are these posts? Nancy Parker, damn boomer, you just had to ruin it, didn't you? But the funny thing is, even though you turned our hero to police for the tip money, your claim was denied because you called 911, not the tip line. Aw, damn, the person who snitched on Luigi got her name ringing all over TikTok. I wonder if that's Peter Parker cousin or something that snitched on Mario brother. I know I'm lame as hell. Nancy Parker is proof most of y'all listen to reply and not understand. She called 911 instead of the fucking tip line for the reward. She would get nothing. I know that's a rumor, but she still stands to potentially get it if there's a conviction and if they can't rule her out for some other reason. This is just a bunch of people talking shit about her. The McSnitch from Altoona, PA, McDonald's did not receive the $50,000 reward. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. It's been a night, I guess. I've been kind of out of it, like almost like foggy headed or whatever. But I'm trying to get back in the pace. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I appreciate it. Have a good night. We'll see you on the next one. Please consider supporting the show if you're able. You go to coldbeer.fund. That's what keeps the show running. That's what pays the bills here. Thank you for that. To patrons, we're going to do a Patreon show this week for sure. So if you're a Patreon member and want to get the extra content, that's cool. I just won't be live that night for everybody else. Yeah, have a good night. We'll see you about on the next one. Have a good one. Almost said it twice.
But I can tell you this about if this douchebag happens to
Hope you enjoyed the show.
You don't have the forking balls to call out the people on this planet.
I picked a scab and I was bleeding. I didn't even realize it.
And telling the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the forking balls.
Did you guys notice I started bleeding during the show?
Okay, Scott.
Nobody was going to tell me? Jesus. Thanks, guys. I'm like a hemophiliac or something. If I pass out on the way home.
And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believer? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets.
I broke out real bad last week. I had a bump on right on the tip of my nose, one on my eyebrow, and then one right there on my chin. I think it's where I really picked up, like running on the treadmill again. I get sweaty and dirty and shit. I don't know, but I can't leave them alone. I gotta fucking squeeze them and pick at them and fucking pick the scab off. Like, I can't leave them alone. There you go. I'm just like Jon Stewart.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped them to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16. High on amphetamine, with Trump in between. Put on a light coat of baby oil and saluted the troops. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, "This is gonna be it." Whoa, wait. Stop. What? I'll get my files. What are you doing? Stop. Fucking stop. Dude, come on. Seriously. This is my mom's an alcoholic. Give me oh my God. Damn it.
I'm telling you, if Russia puts down their arms and goes back home, there's no more killing, there's no more war, right? No more death. If Ukraine puts down their arms and goes home, there'll be no more Ukraine. That's their goal. Like, what don't you fucking get? Elon Musk is posting fucking bullshit posts about, well, Zelensky could stop this at any time. To what? Become part of Russia? And he'll be killed. Get the fuck out of here.
Got him backed up on the ropes, trying to ram it down his throat. Now things are getting rocking. He was doing
Have a good night, guys.
all over, hands on his shoulders, they ringing his bell. You got Frog News Network doing no damn research. They be working copy on Cox that came first.